And howdy, carnivores.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. Not quite evening. We have a special guest today, as you can see. Adrian is here from your channel is The Biggest Loser Carnivore, right?
Well, I just changed it to my name because I didn't want to get sued.
Oh,
But people refer to me as The Biggest Loser Carnivore. Sorry, that intro is so powerful. How do you guys even watch that?
Oh, I still cry every time I see it. Yeah.
Oh, it is so
Emotional.
beautiful.
Yeah, Michael's always said, like I said, he's fantastic. Put that together for us.
you did an awesome job. Yeah.
Well, I am so happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's such an honor. You guys
We're
are
so
such
happy
an
to have you.
inspiration.
Oh, we sure appreciate it. We love your channel. We love your guests and everything. That we've been watching you for a while, and it's man, we're excited to have you on. We want to hear all the behind the scenes dirt about about The Biggest Loser and how you found carnivore.
Well, first I got to throw in a plug. Michael and Lindy, when are you coming on?
Oh, I'm there. Count me in. Send me a calendar.
Todd, we need to do a repeat because when I had Todd on my channel, we could have talked for hours. I had to cut it off because I knew my editor was going to go, hey, you're like 20 minutes over already.
Michael's sitting here going, well, tell me about it. He has to listen to me yabber for 3 hours every day.
First time we talked on the phone, we talked like 8 hours.
We did. That was no joke. Yeah.
Wow. The friendship. So I've met Lindy and Todd in real life, and someday I'm going to meet Michael.
For
And
sure.
so
Yeah,
it's
we
an honor
will
to be here.
too. Yeah, we're looking forward to meeting Michael as well.
For sure.
I actually had saw Todd at the airport, and it was weird because I thought, who else is going to come from? Who else is? Oh, yeah, you found it. It was in my phone somewhere, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw you guys, I was a little bit starstruck. And Todd, I saw him at the airport. I'm like, I know that I know him, but I better not go up to him and say, hey, are you coming to the meat conference? Because he might look at me like a weirdo. And then it turned out he was headed there. And
you go.
I have pictures from your presentation where they put you and Lindy up on the big screen.
Oh, okay. I don't even have that. So good.
Yeah. So
Love to get a
great
copy.
conference.
It was a great presentation.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun. It's going to be so fun to go back there this November. Well, November 2025, that is. Can't wait.
You're in Florida.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sad they moved it because I loved the barbecue.
Right.
You know, and we knew all the places. We kind of had little traditions going on, but I'm excited for the new one too. Florida's going to be nice and warm and wonderful too.
Humid.
Well, Dr. Phil lives down there. Not Dr. Phil like Dr. Phil, but Dr. Phil.
Real Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil Smith lives down there, and he said November. He said that's actually the perfect time to be in Tampa is in November. So he said it's going to be beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So
it's always such an overwhelmingly good time because so many great people are there, and to me, it's not really about the speakers. It's about the people.
Yeah. Totally.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
we
the
had
dinners and the lunches and just not necessarily just the eating, but like the being with each other and bonding.
For sure. We had what did Ashley and Carrie Man call it? Oh, Camp Carnivore. They deemed it Camp Carnivore, so we have to come up with a second Camp Carnivore 2.0 for this year because I'll have to send you. Did you see Ashley at Carnivore Brothers video that he made, the collage of our time in Hack Your Health for Camp Carnivore?
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I'll have to show it to you. I'll send you the link when we get out of here. He did a really good job on that video, Ashley at Carnivore Brothers.
It's an experience I'll never forget. It was the best time. I've been on a bit of a downer since coming home because I just want to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So, you want to kind of just formally introduce yourself to our audience and tell your story, how you kind of your struggle with weight, how it all started and how you got to carnivore.
So my name is Adrian, and my story is that I've been overweight my whole life. And I mean, literally, I remember being like 4 and looking down at my thighs because they were so massive and they were touching. And it wasn't like a complex thing. Like I really was a big kid. I was probably the biggest kid in my school
Hmm.
all the time. And then I had kind of a rough home life for a little bit because my dad was a single dad and he was only 21. And I would go to school and the kids would make fun of me. I mean, they would literally bully me, push me over, call me names. There were several guys that it was their full-time job to follow me around and say boom every time I stepped because they told me I was shaking China. So
Yeah.
I just really innately built this really sad vision of myself that that's all I am. I'm less than other people. I'm big. But part of me wanted to fight back and say, I am worthy. And so, but I didn't know as a child how to become worthy. I didn't know that it came from inside me. So I did things like join tons of sports and try to be as athletic as possible and try to be competitive and try to win things. And I had such a heart to prove to everyone that I was worthy that I was Rudy. Like people would constantly call me Rudy. I was short and pudgy and I would turn purple while I'm running and I would continually score soccer goals. Like I joined cross country skiing and I was told by multiple people that I'm not built for that. I'm just too big and round and with short legs because I'm a little bit shorter, but I proved him wrong and I just skied my heart out, and so in high school I was able to slim down a little bit to actually the size I am today, which is crazy because that's carnivore. But
Hmm.
back in my day, this was considered big. These days, I think that I would be considered fit and maybe even hot in high school. But back in my day, I was still one of the bigger kids in my class. So I went to college and I didn't have those sports anymore. And I gained 60 pounds immediately. I remember coming back from college for the summer, and that's when I went on Atkins with my stepmom. And I did lose like 30 pounds. But then the second I went back to college, I gained like 45. And so I had this complex. I was very lonely in college. I was very unconfident. I went from being a straight A student in high school to like a straight C student in college, just no confidence at all. No confidence in my abilities to read. I'm also looking back now that I know what I know now, I was having tremendous brain issues. Like you shouldn't fall asleep every time you open a book.
Hmm.
And you shouldn't I'm still going and working out. I've got a job. I'm moving. I'm on my feet. And I'm still struggling to just not get bigger. And so finally, my stepmom, who's also she's struggled with her weight her whole life too. She said, we should apply for The Biggest Loser. And no, if you've ever met her, she's very shy. She would have never done that. But I went to bed one night and I had a dream and it was very, very vivid that said I was going to be on the show. And so I made it like my mission. Okay, well, I guess I got to do the audition thing. So I took my 10 cents that I had in my bank account and I drove to Minneapolis and I did the audition and I didn't hear anything. So I asked somebody to borrow a VHS recorder because we didn't have the whole smartphone thing, back then. And I physically recorded a VHS video of me doing snow angels at 230 pounds and doing cartwheels in the snow and crying and telling them how I'd been overweight my whole life. And I got picked. Crazy, right? I mean, the show is on NBC. Millions of people watch this, hundreds of thousands audition, and somehow this girl from North Dakota gets picked. I mean, because at that time I was going to school in North Dakota. So there's a lot past it on the ups and downs, and we can go into that later. But if you want, we can dig right into the show.
Yeah, whatever you think. That we'd love to
Okay.
hear about your experience on the show for sure.
So when I went onto the show, I was about 230, which I know that doesn't even sound that big anymore. But later on in life, I got significantly bigger. So I get on the show and they tell us the first day it was one person from every state and they're sending 36 of us home and 14 are going to stay. But the one person that loses the most weight at home is going to get to come back on the show. And later on, they tell us the two people, one man, one woman. And I was like, that's going to be me. Even though I'm like one of the smaller people, I was like, and I'm a girl, and so those are two kinds of things that are just kind of tough to overcome, the female hormones and then the being the smallest. And it's a percentage thing, so obviously it's going to be tough to compete with bigger men. But I did everything they told me, and I ended up with, when you're at home, we got a doctor, a psychologist, and a nutritionist. And here's the plan, guys. Here's the magic. I was told for my body composition, which they did DEXA scans. They put us in the bod pod, which is like an egg thing. They did a float test. They did heart tests. They did all kind of blood tests, lots and lots of tests to determine I needed to eat 1,274 calories. They told me to break it up into 3 meals plus 2 snacks, low fat, low carb, vegetables and meat. So what does this sound like, guys? It sounds like Weight Watchers. It sounds like
Right.
every single diet that's ever been out there. It sounds like what the doctor tells you when you go to the doctor. The same exact thing. Eat 1,200 calories and move your body as much as possible. Now, the
Right.
workout thing was kind of interesting. The doctor that I had told me to work out twice a day and to break it apart by 12 hours. So like 2 hours in the morning and an hour and a half at night, and walk in between. So that's what I did. And he said to be sure to lift heavy things every day. He said lift heavy every day, which these days it's like lift heavy every few days, let your muscles repair. But on Biggest Loser, lift heavy every day and walk and run and do as much cardio as you can. So because I split mine, I never got injured. And I'm going to tell you in a second about the ranch. So I took some time off of college. I actually dropped out of college to do this. I went back though. Okay, guys, I went back, but I did drop out of college to do this. So in between my 2 workouts, I worked at my dad's store, and he's an entrepreneur, and he owns a rental store where you can get backhoes and skid steers. It's called London Road Rental in Duluth, Minnesota. And you can rent tents and tables and chairs and all the things. My dad rents everything you could possibly need. Don't buy it, rent it. But it's a very manual labor job to move chairs into trucks and to hook up trailers and to wash all the equipment in between and to haul the gas caddy around. It was a super physical job. So I'm doing these 2 workouts, plus I'm working 8 hours a day at a manual labor job. So here's what was weird though. I'm very type A. I think you guys are too, especially Todd. I love that about you. How you like, you set your goal on something and you're like, I'm going to nail this. I'm going to nail it. So I watched all the previous seasons, which at my point was only 2. And I saw, this is what the winner of each week, this is how much they lost. That's how much I need to lose, because I'm going to win. I got to go back. But I am not keeping up with this at all. And I'm working my butt off. Right. So much just to my surprise, I get a call that I get to come back on, or that I have made the top 3 women, and they've decided to bring back 1 man and 1 woman, but they're going to bring 6 people back to do a weigh-in for the show. So I'm like, wow, I must be at the bottom, but at least I made the top 3. I want to tell you one more thing. As an at-home contestant, we were given the 3 tools, plus every week we got support phone calls. We got our free gym membership. I feel like we got a whole bunch of Jenny O certificates to eat lots of turkey. And I felt very supported. It felt kind of like Carnivore, like how we have a community. Like I had a community, I had support, I had people to talk to, and I knew professionals that I trusted that I could reach out with in the psychological, in the nutritional, and in the physical doctor. So I felt very supported. So we go back on and I quickly find out, no, I beat everyone. And I didn't just beat everybody at home. I beat everybody on the ranch too.
Wow.
And that made them hate my guts. Here comes this 22-year-old little blonde girl wiping the floor with everyone. And I got to be home with my family, where everybody else is sequestered on a ranch. They didn't get to talk to their family. I've been home. I've been in my own bed every night. I've been able to talk to my best friend. I've been able to cry to my dad. I had a lot of support. I want to put a little caveat in here. I used to think that I was so awesome because I beat everyone. Now I think I was 22. Now that I'm 40 and it just isn't working, and it never worked again after this. Now I believe that I had a bit of an advantage with my 22-year-old metabolism that had barely dieted before. So I didn't wreck it with a bunch of weight loss prior to this.
Right.
Only one, just Atkins. And it wasn't, some people probably had been in Weight Watchers for years and years and done different things. So I come onto the ranch and everybody hates me. The trainers hate me because they feel like I made them look bad. The producers, I don't know what the producers thought. The crew that was on set, they had fallen in love with their contestants. So even like the people behind the cameras and the assistants, they'd already fallen in love with the people that were there. And then the people that were there hated me. And I got a funny one for you. I want to say we had to do a personality test before we went on there. And I'm not saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying, I think that if you fail the test, you get pushed forward in casting. Because it makes better TV when someone's a total nut job.
Right.
I probably shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. Maybe that's how I made it on the show. So I didn't come up with, I came up with, I think my test said depressed. I think that's all mine said, which I was depressed. I was a college kid that wasn't really dating and was lonely and didn't have any self-confidence. And it was weird. My whole life, I've always wanted that companion. My whole life. There's always been that thing in me that wanted that companion. So I was kind of sad. So anyway, so we're on the set. The deck's stacked against me, but I'm like, I still got this. And then we go to do our competitions, and all the competitions are political. All of them. They're all political. And since it's me and Jaron against everybody else, we lost all of them. Like, there was no winning. If you would have said, who can run the furthest, who can jump the highest, who can, I don't know, count the cow. I don't know. If you would have had like a competition of ability, there would have been, but it was very political. So I made it quite a while. And then the minute that I fell below the red line, this chick was gone fast. I remember the weigh-in. It was so sad. And so, okay, so I made it to the makeover, and there was 1 week after me. And then, so let's talk about some behind the scenes.
Yes.
The reason I wasn't keeping up with the previous seasons is because a week on TV is not the same as a week in real life. Like, there's production things that are just out of their control. They can't get camera crews constantly. It's expensive. Production's expensive as is, but to be able to have some production crews, the best ones that you want there every single day, is just so tough when there's so many different things going on. And then our competitions were all at different locations. Well, you can't just those locations aren't available every day. So the locations aren't available. Then I'm sure there's a weather component, and then there's when are the trainers available for filming. And so I don't remember how long the longest week was, but the feeling inside my heart is like 3 weeks. But I don't know. I don't actually remember, but I know it was pretty common to have 10 or more days in a week. So even though I was only there for, I don't remember how many episodes, I was there for a long time. I was gone from home for a long time. Another thing behind the scenes is there's no like chef, and all those tools I had were gone. Like, no more access to the doctor, the nutritionist, or the psychologist. None. You get your trainer. And then they are amazing trainers, but it's just not the same as having a nutritionist, a doctor, and a psychologist. I would beg to change a little bit that some of the carnivore trainers are pretty awesome, but are pretty well-rounded with their experience. But these people, like, even I didn't have Jillian Michaels, but she's even come out and said, like, before this show, she had helped, some celebrities shave down like 5 to 13 pounds. Like, she had never dealt with obese people who have metabolic issues. Another thing, they really complained that they didn't really have a lot of direction. And so some really disordered things were happening. I think even if they had direction, it probably, the way that the show is, it still would lead to disordered behavior. Like, there's no competition for keeping muscle. You got to lose as much weight as possible, and that includes muscle. It's whatever you can shed, and you're going to win $250,000 if you can shed all of that.
Yeah.
So the trainers were not there every day. They were there when they were scheduled to be there for filmings. And sometimes they would pop in between, but it was like oh my gosh, look who's here. That's so cool. Last chance workouts. Now that I know what I know, how stupid is that? Like, there's no workout that's going to make you like shed 5 pounds.
Right.
Like, that's not what workouts are for. They're to build muscle and improve your metabolism and your strength. It's not to, I don't know. I mean, personally, I just walked up a 3-mile hill and then back down, and I gained 4 pounds. I'm pretty sure it's inflammation from from the stress that I put on my muscles today. I'm totally fine with it. It's just that's real.
Yeah.
So these workouts, everything was a set. Like the scale wasn't real. You actually weighed in naked like earlier that day.
Yeah.
And they don't want to film that. There's production things too. Like filming a weigh-in would take like 6 hours. They would make us do the same thing over and over and over again. There's that kind of stuff. But then there's the finale stuff. So after I leave the ranch, I crash and burn. My heart is broken. My dream is broken. My dream was that I was going to win the show, but winning the show to me, because I was only 22 and I didn't understand money. I mean, here I am taking out billions of dollars in student loans. Like, I really didn't understand money. For me, the show was about finally not being big. And so I felt like the wind was taken out of my sail when I was voted off. So in between the show and the finale, I think I was the first person and maybe the only person to ever gain weight. Yeah, like 8 pounds, I think. And actually, I think they were being generous. I think it was more. And so I come to the finale. I'm looking terrible. I'm so puffy. I'm struggling already. Other people, though, I'll tell you what they were doing. Some people were getting Kleenex. They were going in the sauna. They were spitting to try to get every ounce of anything they can out. Like, some people looked like they were going to pass out. I had family members saying, "You look like you're doing okay. Could you keep an eye on these other people?" Yeah, there's one of the competitions. The more you biked, you got to vote someone down. And so I got all the votes to be put. We were in the air. It was kind of cool. Yeah, so I didn't end the show with a bang. And I have even worse news that I never talked about, but I've been open about it lately. And that is, in between the show and the finale, I went back to college and I started drinking again. And I got a DUI. So I was the shame of the show. And that just made my weight loss, because I just felt the shame. I had gained 5 pounds. I got this DUI. Like, the shame was just piling on. The pressure too. I mean, you guys actually know what it's like when you're bigger and then you kind of blend into the background, or you just, I don't know. You just don't feel like coming out. And then you lose weight and then you come out, and I don't know. There was just a lot of pressure, and it was really weird for me because I had kind of hid until then. So after the show, I gained, let's see here, 100 pounds, like literally 100 pounds within a year. And then I was just devastated. And then the shame. And I was like, I'm never going back to my hometown ever again because they celebrated me. I'm never going on social media. I'm shutting my social media down. I'm never going to talk to anybody again. I did not participate. We have an alumni group. I didn't participate in it. We got invited back for several studies on how we were doing. I didn't want any part of it. I just totally shut all of it off, and I just hid. I also got into a very not good marriage, and that perpetuated all of he was doing, telling me or treating me the way I felt that I deserved to be treated, which is not good. So where's the turnaround? My kids. we go to have kids. And I have my second kid, and my dad, he was a single dad at 21. So he moved in with his mom to like live. You know, like, what are you going to do when you're super young? You got 2 little kids. You move in with your mom or your dad, or, you know, you need help. So he moves in with his mom, and she's really struggling with alcoholism. So my at-home life that I said was really tough, it was because of my grandma, because she was really, really, really suffering from alcoholism. So once I had my kids, I was like, yeah, that's not happening. We're not having this around my kids. And it's not that I was like running around punching people and calling them names. It's more, I just can't stop. I just can't stop. Once I start, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, until I like face plant on the floor laughing and peeing my pants. I don't know. It's ugly. It's been 11 years, and I still vividly remember how ugly it was when I quit. So that's when life turned around, because that's when I went into a 12-step program. And I feel like everybody should do 12-step. We would live in utopia if everybody took a 12-step program seriously. Because you have to start looking at things of, what's my part in things? What can I control? What can I control? What can I give to my higher power, which for me is God? I stopped comparing myself to other people and started recognizing that we're all God's creatures and we're all worthy. All of us, every single one, every single person is worthy. And, you know, just seeing things differently. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready to tackle this weight loss again. So I'd go back into my Biggest Loser ways, and I restrict and I run. Oh, I forgot to mention, in my pregnancies, I ended up at 330 pounds. So now I'm 100 pounds more than I started with on the Biggest Loser, which is 170 pounds more than my lowest on the Biggest Loser. So I'm up 170 now. And 330, that's when I stopped weighing myself. I have no idea what my highest weight was, because it was giving me really high blood pressure every time I stood on the scale. Like, my blood pressure was going up, and then that was making me gain more weight. And then, so I started running and restricting, and I got down to 230 again. So I lost 100 pounds with running and restricting, but then I started gaining. Like, my body just started fighting me, and I'm self-blaming. I'm like, oh, I'm such a loser. I can't ever do anything right. I always give up. I clearly, you know, me. It's a me problem. It's a me problem. And so then I decided, though, I must just be broken. So I went and had gastric bypass. And I know everybody does heartbreak right now. Oh, if I would have known about Carnivore, I would not have done that. But I did. And so have so many people. And I totally understand where we're coming from. We tried and we're like banging our heads against the walls, trying, that at some point you just kind of think to yourself, well, I just must be broken, because I can't eat everything in moderation. I can't stick to a low fat, low calorie diet. So it must be a me problem. Oh, and so we need to fix that. So I have gastric bypass, and within a few months of gastric bypass, I start having the side effects. And for me, that was chronic hypoglycemia. Chronic. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not eating sugar. I never ate sugar. I'm a rule follower. So I get off of it. Here's another thing. I get my surgery. They tell me, you know, eat these little cups, eat like 800 calories a day. You know, first it's a liquid diet, then it's the little cups. And I'm following that. And on top of that, because I'm a go-getter, I'm also like half marathon training for real. I'm not lifting any weights though, but I am half marathon training and eating my little cups of food. And for some reason, I can't lose weight. I mean, I lose some. I do lose some. But for some reason, I still can't get past this 170-ish. I dipped into the 160s, back in the 170s. I can't get past the 170s. And I'm still like 40% body fat. So I do have some weight to lose, and I can't. And the hypoglycemia is kicking in. And I'm not eating sugar. And I'm following all the rules. And I'm going in and I'm telling the doctor, help me. And they're like, you must not be tracking appropriately. I'm like, here's my logs. I hand wrote them. There was hardly any apps back then. And I'm absolutely tracking. I'm pre-portioning my meals. I'm obsessively, compulsively doing this perfect, and I am not losing weight. I'm getting anemic. I'm tired. My brain is foggy. I'm emotional, and they didn't have any answers for me. So then I just kind of had to figure it out myself. So that was about 10 years ago. And ever since then, it's been like, what else can I restrict so that this hypoglycemia stops? And it's been pulling one thing out at a time. And before carnivore, I was essentially down to eggs, chicken, and green beans. And even then, I was getting sick just about every single time I ate. Um, there's more in there, I guess. I ended up with autoimmune illness. And when they spotted it when I went to the endocrinologist, and I said, "What do we do about all these antibodies?" Sorry, I've been talking for 30 minutes. I do belong with you guys.
You're good.
I say, "What do we do about all these antibodies?" And he said, "Well, at some point you won't have a thyroid, and then you can come back and I'll give you thyroid medicine." And I was like, "Can we do something now?" Nothing. Nobody ran hormones. Nobody ran insulin. After that, nobody ran anything. And so I just thought it's still a me problem. So if I just keep restricting what I'm eating, then eventually I'll figure it out and fix it. My weight went up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Eventually I caught the bad virus, and that is what tipped me over. And I was in the hospital with pneumonia on all sides of my lungs. Todd and I talked about how I actually left the hospital because they were not helping me. And the plans that they had for me, I was 9 months pregnant. The plans that they had, I might not be here today. Truly,
Yeah.
might not be here. So I left against their will and found another doctor. And that same doctor, so she saved me and my baby's life. And then after giving birth, I had no milk. And so instead of what everybody else did, which was say, you just didn't try hard enough, she said, let's dig into this. And she ran some things, saw my adrenals were in the tank, my hormones are in the tank, my thyroid's in the tank, everything's in the tank. And that's when I had to do something. And I'm also now back over 200 pounds, and it was time to do something. And to be honest with you, I considered going on that Optavia because I saw people losing weight on it. So I go to dig into it, and I'm looking at the ingredients, and I'm like, people are eating this? Because at this point, I'd been eliminating stuff for 10 years, and all that stuff is in those meals.
Right.
And then I hear people say, well, I'm training myself to eat less. And I'm like, that's terrible. So anyway, my dad had lost 60 pounds, no grains, no sugar. He said, with all your autoimmune, you got to try carnivore. And that's how I ended up here, because my dad, the guy that raised me all by him, until he was 10, then he met my stepmom. He said, you got to try carnivore. And I got to tell you, as a gastric bypass, I was eating a lot of plants because they went into my stomach easier. I knew I needed to eat meat. Even the Biggest Loser doctor said we had to eat meat. I knew I had to have meat, but it hurt so bad. So I was mostly eating plants. So it was a big transition into this, but it wasn't as big as some people because I didn't need to cut the sugar. I didn't need to cut the grains. Those were gone long ago. And then I started feeling better, and I lost some inflammation, and things were getting great. And then they turned. Sorry, this is part of my story. It didn't cure everything. So then I had to dig into chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And so I'm on the SIRS path, and that has been an additional ticket that I needed to continue to work on my metabolism, work on my healing, work on my autoimmune conditions, work on my long haulers, work on all the things. So the two together are like husband and wife.
So what is that exactly?
So chronic inflammatory response syndrome is when you get something triggers you to get chronically inflamed to the point your body can't turn it off. It doesn't know how to. It's like your body gets discombobulated. They say your immune system gets unorganized, so it no longer can see what is a toxin, what is an invader. It can no longer see that, and so it just they say it's like, a superhero trying to kill the villain with a blindfold on and just shooting lasers everywhere. And so that's why you end up with all kinds of autoimmune conditions. I even have lichen sclerosis, where my body's attacking its own skin. So your body just attacks things trying to find it, but it can't see it because it's literally blind.
But what does the diet for that look like? Well, like what is the treatment?
They say low amylase, which I think is, I don't know what that is, because I mean, most of the people I know who are doing this are on carnivore, because that's just scrap it all out. There might be like 4 vegetables that don't have amylase, and I just don't care to figure that out because carnivore just is, it's just easier. Our guts were so inflamed on top of everything else being inflamed that's why every time I was eating, I was getting sick, because my guts were just I had such bad leaky guts, such inflamed guts that I couldn't eat anything. So these low inflammation foods were soothing, and it was like, I can eat again. There was a point before carnivore where I thought to myself, like every day I thought, I'm just gonna have to give up on eating.
Right.
Because I was sick every single time I was in bed. I couldn't take care of my kids. And so it was weird. I felt better fasting. Interesting, right? So along this journey too, I have done some fasting, but now I'm on a medication that requires you to eat. So I haven't done as much fasting, but I think that's going to come back in. So you couple the two together, and I've been healing. I'm back down to my high school weight. I'm down to my lowest, biggest loser weight. And I've been maintaining it. And even with my issues with my chronic inflammatory response syndrome, it's still so much easier to manage than it was ever with any other diet I ever did. And so this goes back to, and you guys can ask me questions. I'm sorry if I'm answering them all, but what was the problem with The Biggest Loser? It killed my metabolism. It also did not deal with my relationship with food. And that doesn't mean eating less. It means I didn't recognize binge eating. I didn't recognize grazing. I didn't recognize those things. I didn't recognize that certain foods are so addictive. I just thought, well, I just must not have any strength. And then the second thing that Biggest Loser didn't address is our metabolic issues. Most people who are overweight have something going on. It's not because we ate too much food. It's because there's something going on. I know people who weigh 110 pounds, and this lady swears she eats 10,000 calories a day. She swears of junk food. She goes, yeah, I eat junk food. And she's ripped and she lifts weights, but I'm telling you, she's not burning 10,000 calories a day. That's hardly even possible. And she swears she eats 10,000 calories a day. So it's not eating. It's other things. Okay. I'm done rambling.
Oh, no worries. So do you think that gastric bypass helped you or hindered you in carnivore, do you think?
That's a tough one, because sometimes it's kind of nice that I still feel kind of full. Like this stomach does have a difficult time with meat. Now, this stomach can eat cheese and peanut butter all day long. This stomach can have milkshakes all day long. There's things that you can shove through this thing real easily. So it doesn't stop everything. You have to make decisions. But meat, it struggles with meat. So it's helped me. Like, I've never eaten 16 ounces of steak. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but, but I can eat 10. Like, things have changed. When I first came in, everything hurt. Now my stomach acids have changed, and I can eat a decent amount of food. But hinder because of the malabsorption of nutrients. I still come in low on protein. I still come in low on iron. I still come in low on some of my vitamins, even though I'm eating the most nutrient-dense food in the world. So would I do it again? No, because I didn't realize that having those deficiencies was going to trigger immunity problems, energy problems, brain problems, health problems.
Yeah, I really would like to start kind of tracking that, because my gut feeling is, from watching my sister and my mom and Lindy go through it, is that it wasn't, in the long run, it's not helpful because of the trouble my mom has eating enough. Now my mom still has body fat to lose, but she's losing, lean muscle mass and bone density because she can't eat enough protein and absorb it, and she had gastric bypass. about
Did you have it too, Lindy?
I had lap band surgery, so yeah,
Lap
I
band.
struggle. Yeah, so I struggle with meat. It kind of everything
Mhm.
gets stuck. It just doesn't go down. And I'm currently, when I'm stressed out, it's even worse. So right now, it's really difficult for me to get any meat down because there's a lot going on in my life right now. So I was kind of interested on what kind of things do you eat, and what does a day of eating look like for you? Do you do the 3 meals a day, or do you just sort of graze all day? How do you?
I'll tell you that if I don't stick to a plan, that my intuitive eating is to graze all day because like you said, it's kind of hard to eat meat. So it's easy for me to just eat one sausage and walk away. But then I'm not satiated for a long time and then we're continually having the insulin going. So my intuitive thing is to just eat one sausage and then cup an hour later and eat another sausage, then cup an hour later and eat another sausage. That is my thing is grazing. So, but I'm currently on a plan and I'm feeling great. And let's be honest here, I always feel great the first couple weeks of the plan. And then it's like
Yeah.
week 3, the inflammation is gone and it's not fun anymore. So I struggle week 3. I'll keep you posted on that. But I'm currently doing the Craig and Maria Emmerich plan and it's 2 meals a day and it's pretty lean, like surprisingly lean. And I'm curious how this will go because I've never done this in my carnivore journey. My carnivore journey has always been pretty high fat. So I'm interested to see how do my hormones do. I did have blood work done before this, so we'll see what happens at the end of like how are my hormones, how is my thyroid, all the things. But it's 2 meals a day, a pretty lean meat. So right now it's like steak in the morning and fish in the evening. That's pretty, or eggs in the morning and steak in the evening, or eggs and bacon and steak in the evening. She has quite a few recipes, so I'm actually varying it up, which might be why I'm still going. But
Mm.
that's what I'm doing right now, and it feels good right now. I'll let you know how next week goes.
Yeah,
right.
interesting. I kind of need the fat to help get the food down. If there's no fat in there, it's too dry. It literally gets stuck, and then I just end up bringing it up, and then I can't eat for hours afterwards. So I need to really stick with this. Carbs are very, slippery ship foods is what I call them. They go
Yeah.
down easily. Then you have that meat and it's very dense. If there's no fat in it, there's no way I can get that down. So lean meat is just not an option for me. I need that fat to help push it down or make it go through a bit easier. And even then I have to really chew. And yeah, I miss eating a steak. I'd love to be able to sit down and eat a Todd steak or
Have you
watching all.
ever considered having it removed?
I'm actually thinking about it. I'm scared because it was done 27 years ago is when I had the surgery. So I'm scared there's going to be a lot of scar tissue and I'm frightened if they try and take it out, they're actually going to do some damage. And that's my big fear. I have heard horror stories of them trying to remove it and people end up with more complications. If it was sort of freshly done, I might have a better chance of them removing it without causing any damage. So it's kind of better the devil
Yeah.
to know. I've got it. I know I can sort of try and get around it. I have a lot of eggs and doing a few sardines here and there. If I mash it up really like baby food, it goes down. But geez, I just love to sit and eat a steak like a normal person. Going to Texas was so hard. I fasted most of the time because we'd be sitting at a restaurant. Everyone's eating these fantastic steaks. And I'm like, it's going to take me, 5 hours to eat a steak like that. And I can't afford to do that when you're socializing. So it was just, I'm fasting. And that's how I kind of dealt with the whole Texas thing. Didn't get to eat much of the beautiful meat and stuff over there. So,
Well, that's
yeah,
okay. Some of it had seed oils and lots of spices that made people's stomachs upset.
all good then.
But I can't imagine. That must have been so hard. I feel
Yeah,
really fortunate that my stomach acids have, but yours is a different mechanism.
yeah, it
Like,
literally gets stuck. It doesn't even hit my belly like it, and so my stomach is grumbling, but I can't get the food into it. Yeah, it's a nuisance. But
yeah.
yeah, the good thing is that it doesn't worry me to see people eat. I can sit there and watch people eat, and I have comfort in watching people enjoy their food and whatever, and I don't feel like I'm missing out because I know I can just go home and then I just have a little graze of something later. So it doesn't sort of bother me as much anymore. Like all those cravings and watching people eat, that's all gone now. So I just enjoy seeing other people enjoy the food.
That's
It makes
interesting.
me,
When I
yeah.
had gastric bypass, I felt really sad and actually mad when I would watch other people eat after
Mhm.
gastric bypass. Like it was really emotional, and my family even they're like scarred by how like I didn't even want to come over to their house because I didn't want to watch other people eat things I couldn't eat. It's totally different with carnivore because I look at that food and I go, I don't want to eat that.
Exactly. Yeah. When I had the band surgery, I felt exactly the same way. I was coming from an Italian family. They had pastas and like the best food, and I couldn't eat anything. It drove me crazy. But now the family will sit down to some pasta if we go out, and I'm more than happy to let them eat. And I'm not wanting any of that anymore. So it's just carnivore. It just changes that mindset. I think it's fixed the root cause of my issues, which was comfort eating. Like I don't enjoy eating anymore. I've spent 50 years of my life completely focused on about food. Like it was just, when's the next meal coming? What am I going to have? That was my mindset all the time. Now it's like, oh, I'm feeling hungry. I need to go and make a steak. Quickly make it, Todd hates this, out of the freezer into the air fryer and eat a couple of bites, leftovers in the fridge, and then that's it. I go and live my life. I don't focus on food anymore. And that's been this off switch, the food freedom that I have never had in my whole life. And carnivore's given that to me. So it's very powerful.
Yes. Unless I'm grazing, then I'm not food free when I'm grazing. But if I eat a meal and then I'm full, that is freedom.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing I don't love about so many things going on right now, including the surgery, is that we're supposed to teach ourselves to be hungry. We're supposed to teach ourselves. And I look at that little Adrian, that little girl who was always hungry, always. Like we had lots of babysitters because my dad had to work 24/7 to support us. And I would always leave hungry. I just remember never being full. And that's so sad that we're trying to teach ourselves as a society to just never be full. And that's what I love about carnivore is you get to be full.
Yeah, just restrict your food and exercise lots. That's what you have to do. And it's just like torture, isn't it?
Like
It's
The
just
Biggest
absolute
Loser.
torture.
If you're not throwing up after a workout, you just didn't work hard enough, and that's why you're fat.
Right, because that all sounds very sustainable, right? Be hungry all the time and work out every day until you throw up, because that that has some longevity. You're going to really stick with that. I mean, that's what's so silly about it. I was going to ask you. You had mentioned, about the whole time you're beating yourself up and you're just to yourself you were broken. And when did that start to change? When did you start going? I think there's something wrong with the food environment. I think there's something wrong with the advice we're getting. I think there's something wrong with this calorie restrictive dogma that everybody's feeding us,
That's how I think anyway about everything. I don't know if that's allowed, but like ever since 2020, it just became very obvious and in our face all the things that we've been lied to about and what's going on. And
For
so
sure.
to when I started carnivore and I got to feel that full, oh my gosh, how empowering was that? That was crazy. Like you could run on a high because you were like, I get to be full, and it shuts down some of that quiet. It's some of that stuff. I get to be full and I'm nourishing myself. And so it was week 1 for me where I was mind blown.
Right.
Your mind gets blown when you're like, it actually does make sense that we should probably eat more like this.
More. Yeah, I know. That's that was the biggest turnaround for me was when I stopped blaming myself on everything, that I was just screwing everything up and weaker, broken, whatever. And I remember actually a friend of mine once said, was the first time I really started thinking about it. And it's weird how it can just take something so slight and easy just to kind of shift your thinking because it was there the whole time. But a friend of mine said, we were talking and he was like, so you were 600 pounds when you were 14? And I was like, yeah, I was. He goes, well, clearly there's something medically wrong with you. I was like, well, why do you say that? And he goes, well, because I tried to wrestle and I just tried to gain 30 pounds. He goes, there was nothing I could have done to weigh 600 pounds when I was 14. Like you couldn't have gotten me to weigh 600 pounds when I was 14. And that was the kind of the beginning when I was like, that's that's a pretty good point, that there's people out there that couldn't do this if they were trying, and I'm not trying, and this is happening. So this is the first time that I started going, okay, this isn't just about calorie restricting. There's something going on that they're not telling me. And then, of course, when I read, started looking into Gary Taub and Dr. Robert Lustig, and they talked about how, the only way to change the behavior of 74% of the population to be this big and sick and, overweight is if you screw up the food environment. And then you started seeing why they put all the onus and the blame on calorie restriction and people's inability to not calorie restrict, because if there's any acknowledgement that food, different building blocks and different nutrition, is not on equal calorie plane, then you can start blaming the food instead of you start cutting out that it could be the processed food, it could be the sugar, it could be the Coca-Cola and the Nabisco and the cookies and all the hyper palatable. Exactly. And then then they would be liable. Then you might stop eating their garbage and stop eating their drugs, and you might stop taking their drugs, And so, I mean, that was when it all flipped for me. Did you kind of have that awakening where you're like, oh, okay, this is, we are being kind of attacked here. We are being manipulated.
Yes. And now when I see people who are really, really struggling, I just want to give them a hug. And I just want to tell them, like, first of all, don't give up. Secondly, you want to hear something crazy, but nobody really wants to hear it. But I want to tell them. I want to tell them so bad. I want to be like, listen, and I have a friend. I hope she's watching this, but I'm sure she's not. She's a very busy mom, but she just lost, 160 pounds running and restricting through a trainer near her. And I watched her do this and I cheered her on, but I also sent her messages. And sometimes I say my stories because I'm hoping she hears it. I'm hoping she hears it because I knew what's happening was going to happen. She got down to 200 pounds, and that's when the rebound started. That's when her body started saying, nope.
Yep.
And I mean, it's been, I don't know how much she's gained. I want to, making this up, let's say 50 pounds. And it's been like 2 months. Like immediately her body is fighting her so hard, and she's sitting there kicking herself. And I'm like, honey, it's not you. It's the plan. It's the metabolism. It's the hormones. It's what you were told to do. Your body hates that.
Yep.
And you're going to have to reverse diets. You're going to have to nourish yourself.
Right. Like what? Yeah. I mean, exactly. Why do all these dietitians that, are, go to school for this? None of them ever told me that we don't just eat for fuel, we eat for building blocks. And that if you're eating empty fuel, you're going to mess up your metabolism. You're going to be insulin resistant. You're going to be having a surplus of fuel and glucose that has to be turned to fat, but your body's still calling for protein, fat, cholesterol, amino acids, all those things that we're not getting. And no wonder our body's sitting there screaming out hungry all the time. No wonder we can't get satiated, because we're eating all this food that's completely void of any kind of real nutrition that we're supposed to have,
Well, this girl did it right. She belongs in this winner circle right here. She was eating vegetables and meat. But I wanted to be like, skip the veg, because she was doing what she was told, which was, veg.
Yeah, and meat. Tiny little bit. Exactly.
And then her calories were super low. Her fat was super low. And her workouts were, what's that thing everybody does?
The HIIT exercises or cross train.
CrossFit.
CrossFit, yeah.
Yeah, so she worked it so hard. I'm so proud of her. And now she's like, maybe I should be carnivore. And I'm like, yes, honey. Come on over.
For sure.
Come to the dark. Come to the bright. Come to
and
the
you're
sun.
You're going to gain weight, but it's going to be good weight. And then when you're done gaining good weight, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose fat. You're going to get lean. You're going to get strong. You're going to get bone density. It's going to be good, Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious once you're here and you feel it, because I've gone through so many metabolism crashes. I just crashed my metabolism last Sunday because I fasted a bunch this year, and I finally crashed it by over fasting Sunday. But the beauty of it is I recognized it within the first 30 hours, and I was like, okay, I have to fix this. And then you just reprime. And
Can you
already
tell me what are the signs of metabolic crash?
first one is chills. So the very first thing that I got was I was cold to the bone, which is the first sign of your metabolism slowing down. And so I was like, and I knew that. And so as soon as I spotted it, I was like, all right, I'm going to pay attention real close to this. And then brain fog, dizziness, fatigue, and it all came on very quickly. And I'm like, okay, yeah, and then loss of appetite,
And your little cough.
Yeah, my little, and I actually haven't been getting that as much. I do get hoarse because my thyroid in my throat kind of goes hoarse on me anytime that starts happening. But I was able to do about 138 days of fasting this year before that crash because I was doing them nourished. So I was eating with a plan in between. So I was really putting in the fat and the protein in between to keep that from happening. This time I just overdid it because I went to Wyoming. So I didn't get to refeed for 7 days. I only refed for 3 days and then went on another 7-day fast. And that was where I went wrong. And that's why my metabolism tanked. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to see that now because I never even understood how you could destroy your metabolism and how you could cause insulin resistance before. I never saw that. And that's the beauty about carnivore and healing your hormones and healing your metabolism and getting your leptin sensitivity back and ghrelin sensitivity. You can actually trust your body, and being free from addictions, you can trust your body again, and you can listen to it and it'll tell you exactly what's going on, and it's such a beautiful thing. And then you can be happy when you're eating. I mean, I was going from not eating to now I'm priming, so I got to fix my metabolism. So I make a little bit of meat here.
Just a little bit, yeah.
It's enough for all of us, eh?
Right. Because I got to go hard when I'm fixing my metabolism, right? So when I am eating, I'm eating 4 to 7 pounds of meat a day, going crazy. You'd think that I would, that's like 7,000 calories in meat and protein and fat a day. And all I do is get stronger, and maybe I'll gain 15 pounds over a month's period of time. And on the first 3 days of fasting, that's all gone. It's such a beautiful regimen of healthy weight that you put on when you're priming, and it just cranks your metabolism through the roof. And then when you start to fast, man, you just lean up like crazy. It is such a good, and there's no struggle. There's no struggle. It's not hard to do those fasts. It's not hard to eat that meat when you're doing it. It's a beautiful thing. And it's the reason why it's sustainable, where the other 26 years of calorie restrictive diets, not a one of them stuck. Not a one of them stuck,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This one's so maintainable because who doesn't like to eat meat? I look back at all the holiday parties and I would always go for the ham and cream cheese roll-ups. I'd always go for the deviled eggs.
Yeah.
It really is good and it's filling. I mean, there's, unlike some of the other things, it's like, man, these recipes are so exhausting. Well, of course that's never going to last. It's exhausting to cook it. This is so easy to just throw it in, and I air fry a lot.
Yeah.
Michael, do you do the fasting too, or what protocol do you do? Do you just eat, or?
I do some fasting. I started the year off. We were only supposed to do a 5-day fast, and then Todd and Lindy joined in, and I ended up going 21 days. And I lost like 47 pounds. I felt great during the fast. Crashed a little bit afterwards though, and it took me a while to realize what the cause was, and that was with not enough fat.
Yeah.
So I had to increase my fat intake, and then that got me back out of that. But I mostly just have 2 meals a day. Try to keep them, small in size, but I eat till I'm full, and being free from food is such a big thing. The thought that would always be in there, just like Lindy says, we got the off switch now, and that's life changing. You don't realize it until you go carnivore and break free from it. Then you realize how bad you really were back then. And it's unreal. It's It's like it always had to be there. So it had to always stick something in your mouth. Even if you just got done eating, it was like a trigger. Just boom, had to
Mm.
go eat. So
Yes.
So I
Now I
kind of
feel
felt
sad
like,
for even our pets. You look at our
yeah,
poor pets and they're like cancerous and obese and starving. They'll eat as much as you want. So we're like kind of restricting them. They're probably very, very hungry, those poor guys.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I talk about my dog a lot. She's 18. She's a poodle. But when I used to feed her dog food and chicken, she was having seizures all the time. And when I put her on full carnivore with just beef and lamb and sometimes rabbit, she stopped having seizures. And I found out it was the chicken, because the chicken that they that they breed in the United States is causing dogs to have seizures, and making them cancerous. It's pretty crazy, for sure.
Is
So
that the same chicken we're eating?
it is. It's so kind of funny thing as I took her off the chicken and I put her on beef and pork, and she did fine. And then when I was in Texas a couple months ago, my mom got Costco rotisserie chicken, and Cosette had a half a Costco rotisserie chicken, and she had her first seizure she had in years within 4 hours eating a Costco rotisserie chicken. Yeah. Watch Super Size Me 2, and you'll see what they did to the chicken and why it's causing those problems. It's disgusting. But yeah, it's Franken chicken, and it's really not good. You can get good chicken, but you got to get it locally, and it's not the Tyson chicken and all that stuff. That's Franken chicken.
We've raised quite a few meat hens, but getting your hands on a natural diet in Minnesota,
Hard.
where we don't have very much grass like
Yeah.
year round, it's kind of tough.
Difficult for sure. I was
So
going to
we're
get to
still grain fed.
a few comments and questions here real quick before we get too far behind. But check this out. Doug started at 620 pounds down to 420 so far, 200 to go. Congratulations.
way to go, Doug.
Good job,
Excellent.
That is awesome,
That's
man.
amazing.
Yeah.
Gets better every day for sure. And then here we go. Do you have a hard time eating meat after gastric?
I really did in the beginning. I really, really, really did. I mean, by the time I started carnivore, I was 9 years out from my surgery, still struggling with meat. So what I did in the beginning, I loaded it with melted butter. And I know that can cause some people issues, but I was welcoming the issues because I had been constipated.
Yeah, right.
For years. And so I lathered it up, just like Lindy said. And that's what I had to do in the beginning, is lather it up. Eventually it just got better though. I don't lather it up at all anymore. And I mean, I would say that happened within a month, that I was able to start eating. Like the gastric fluids got so much better fairly quickly. But I do have to say, if I do a fast or if I do a sardine challenge and I go back to trying to eat beef, I struggle again. So it's kind of like that stomach fluid tanks really quickly, it seems.
You're not alone. You're not alone though. I mean, it takes me two days to refeed, even after a 7-day fast. 2 days is just reconstituting my gastric,
Yeah.
my microbiome. It's still,
It does come back though.
it does.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can eat pretty good now, and I eat a lot of steak. Now, what I don't like is I still don't really like chicken.
Right.
No, I don't either.
No, that's dog food for sure. Or not even dog food now. These optimal aminos have really helped my digestion. Like when I take these, it helps my gut constitute bile way quicker too, by the way. So that's one thing that comes out of these that I do enjoy those for. Let's see. Charlie asks, feeling better, fasted. How did you overcome that? I think he's saying when you were talking about that you couldn't eat, but you could fast, when your gut was messed up.
I truly believe, because, okay, when you have this chronic inflammatory response syndrome, something triggers it. It could be a virus. Like for me, it was a virus. It could be a head injury. So I've actually had this for a long time, and there's a few other triggers for me until I was tipped over. I had a horrible head injury. I slipped on the ice and I hit my head on the ice, and my body left my body and came back. It was that bad. So bad head injury, abusive marriage, trauma. Trauma can cause this chronic inflammation to start. There's quite a few things. Living in a moldy home growing up, there's things. And so you just kind of add them up. It's not necessarily that one thing tipped you over. It's when you add up these dang events over and over and over again, eventually you don't feel so good. So for me, I had these events, and then on top of it, I was living in a home that we didn't know had a issue in the attic where heat was getting trapped because our ceiling wasn't installed correctly. And here with the cold and then the heat, it causes condensation, which causes mold. So I was living in this moldy house. Unfortunately, I've never found a place that doesn't have mold. We've been looking for a year and a half. We haven't found it. So I've never left the mold yet. Even not finding a safe place for me to live, I have gotten better. And I am confident that is because of the carnivore diet. I'm confident it's because I'm eating these lower inflammatory foods and my gut is finally able to take a break and maybe grow some better gut biome. I've also completely stopped, and I stopped this maybe like 3 years ago, taking any antibiotics if at all possible. I've really been trying to just let my gut heal. And I really think that this diet has helped it heal because I've never left the mold. And so I can't say that that's what it was.
I've been, I was just listening to Kelly Hogan and what's his name? Dr. Ovadia.
Ovadia.
Yeah. Talk about that same thing, that I didn't even know that can be a cause of like heart issues, was mold, black mold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah. Everywhere we go, it just finds us.
Right. You need to move to a dry climate or something like Arizona.
I do, but I've got big kids that I share custody of. So.
Oh, yeah.
We're in northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin.
For a while. Let's see. Question. Hi, Adrian. I've been wearing a CGM for a few years now. When I did have my gastric bypass before March 28th, I noticed that my blood glucose would shoot up to 75, or shoot up from 75 to 140 within 30 minutes. That's part one. Part two. But now without the bypass, my sugar goes from 75 to 80, maybe 90 after a few hours. And this is part three. How is your sugar levels with gastric bypass?
Mine have been, so every time I would go in, they would say, "Oh my gosh, your blood sugar is so great. You don't have an issue." But I had horrible hypoglycemia, and I wasn't eating sugar. I wasn't eating ice cream. I wasn't eating grains. I was eating green beans and maybe some lettuce. I mean, it was very low glycemic vegetables, and I was still having hypoglycemia. So here's what I've decided, because I tried for 9 years to cut down to the lowest glycemic things you could possibly eat. And it didn't change the fact that I had chronic hypoglycemia. It could happen anytime, any minute. It could happen multiple times a day, any day. So what I've determined, since it's gone now that I'm carnivore, is that vegetables were causing me inflammation, which was messing with my hormones. So I wasn't responding appropriately. I don't know what else to come up with, but since going carnivore, no more hypoglycemia. So my blood sugar doesn't really get high. My concern is how low it used to get, but now it's good.
That's interesting. So I know your blood sugar on carnivore, your blood sugar can get a lot lower and be okay because you balance your balance your blood sugar better with ketones, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know it can run a lot lower because I know when I was when I wore CGM for like 2 days, but when I'm fasting, my blood sugar, that thing was always in a constant alarm of like crazy low blood sugar. It would say, go to the hospital now. I felt fine.
Yes. A 50 today feels different than a 50 when I was having hypoglycemia.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah. And so that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to investigate that more because, when I over fasted and my metabolism crashed, that wasn't the case anymore because I think my body shut down and wasn't making ketones out of fat at the time because it was preserving my stored fuel, which I think cut down ketones. So then my low blood sugar became low blood sugar and I got very dizzy and tingly fingers and the whole 9 yards, So that's kind of interesting to watch how that happens actually in real time, where you can have a low blood sugar with ketones and you're fine, or have a low blood sugar without ketones and you're not fine. So
Yeah, what's super interesting, all these years I was told I needed to keep eating, keep eating, keep eating, and that will fix my blood sugar. And I never forget my now husband, boyfriend at the time, took me to Canada fishing and he didn't pack any food. And I was like, "What are we gonna eat today? I'm gonna die." And he was like, "Oh, he's not like us. He
right.
doesn't think about food like ever. It's so weird." Um, Amazing for him. But it was the best blood sugar day of my life. So when I don't eat, I feel better. But I've never done like 7 days of fasting. I don't know what happened then, but I'd assume that I'd actually feel great.
Yeah, I bet you would. Especially if you primed first. I think you really would. Adrian, have you thought about reversing the gastric bypass?
Yes. So I don't know about you guys, but like there's things that are seeds. And I'm going to keep watching. Some people are having it reversed now. I'd like to know, how do you feel in 5 years? That's what I want to know. I don't want to know 6 months. I don't want to know a year. I want to know, how are you 5 years down the road? Did you end up with an autoimmune condition? Did you end up with any lymphatic issues? How are you doing 5 years down the road after surgery? And so I'd like more data. Like, I don't want to be the experiment.
Right.
I get
But
that.
I would love to reverse it if it meant I could have my nutrients back.
Yeah. That'd be really interesting. Let's see. Doug says, in my area, there was a
The
father and
biggest
son
lover.
on The Biggest Loser. I think is what he meant. Father kept the weight off and the son gained it all back plus.
There's
Interesting.
so many of us. So if you guys come to my channel, I did start a series where I'm interviewing different Biggest Loser alumni and I'm asking them, so what happened? So many of us hid for years and years and years. People are starting to come back out of the woodworks. And I don't want to disappoint people because I feel like people need to do what they need to do. And I'm not here to put down. I mean, everybody's on a journey and you got to try different things and maybe it'll work long term and maybe it won't, but don't give up. So, some people's journey is surgery. Some people's journey is GLP-1 medications. Some people's journey is to continue to restrict and run. So, but just tell us what your journey is and do you have any lessons for us? And
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, it's kind of difficult to find people to talk because so many of us gained our weight back. And I thought I was alone. And now that I became carnivore, I'm like, it wouldn't make sense for you to keep the weight off. Anybody
sure.
who's kept the weight off, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like your metabolism's not cool with what we did.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Adrian, talk more about the difference on high fat versus high protein. Which do you prefer?
I prefer high protein, and I don't know what's up with that because I have hormone issues, so I should prefer high fat. So this is something, we've got a lifetime to figure this out, right, guys? And I wish I could just do all the experiments today, but you can't do them all at the same time. So I guess right now, for the first time, I'm playing with low fat and I'll run my blood numbers and see how does that go. Because I'm a little concerned about it, but I feel amazing on low fat. I feel full. I feel energy. I feel less puff. And when I eat more fat, I feel congested. We just interviewed someone, Leslie Keith. And she was saying that sometimes when people feel icky on high fat, it's because there's a spot that's clogged and the fat is potentially getting stuck
Maybe
instead of
so.
processing properly. So maybe that's something going on. I don't know. But I'm going to keep playing around with it. We got years and I'll share with you guys. We will all share, like, how do we feel? And sometimes you can feel great on low fat and sometimes you can feel great on high fat. I can imagine that's actually very natural because in certain seasons we're probably eating really lean animals, like in the winter, they've
Yes.
leaned out, and then in certain seasons we're getting those nice fat animals.
Well, I went through a crazy roller coaster on the low fat, high fat thing. So first I was eating low fat, high protein, lean protein, and it was fine. But then my body became pretty adaptive at gluconeogenesis and it started spiking my insulin. So then it wasn't fine because when that metabolic process of gluconeogenesis healed in my body and it outpaced fat adaptation, I started needing more protein to feel satiated which was I was only able to absorb about 65 grams of protein per meal. So the excess would turn into glucose, spike my insulin, and I would feel just like I was having a carb crash, and I'd want to take a nap, you know? Yeah. And so that happened for a while. So I had to double my fat to a 2-to-1 or 80-20 ratio. And that cured it, because then that was satiating. It healed my hormones, and that was working fantastically until I started aggressively fasting, and particularly dry fasting. And then what I believe happened was, when you dry fast, your body has to become more metabolically, it has to build little, new metabolic pathways to fat adaptation to get the metabolic fluid out of your fat cells when you're dry fasting. So you become very, very fat adapt. And when I became more fat adapt through aggressive fasting, I stopped needing so much fat, because now my body's able to tap into my stored body fat for that fat. And I don't have, now I do better more like at a 65% fat diet rather than an 80% fat diet. And it's a really weird roller coaster, but if you kind of follow how it happened, and this has been a few people that I talked to that had similar things, you can follow what happened there. Basically, when my body, when gluconeogenesis became more efficient than my fat adaptation, I needed more fat. But then through the fasting, healing up, and I also think that what Leslie Keith said too could be a factor too. I think when you do fasting past 72 hours, the autophagy and mitophagy, I think it really heals the lymphatic system, so it heals a lot of that clogging. Plus, I've been working out a lot more on rebounder, shake plate, and I particularly on my arms to open up the thoracic ducts, and on my legs and doing Wim Hof breathing to move the diaphragm to get the lymphatic moving. So maybe I just cleared that out too. But something in there happened where, for a time, for about 8 months, I needed a 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio, and now I don't need it. So go figure. I don't know. That's why this is truly an N=1, and we're all experimenting in real time, kind of riding this wave, because but this is the beauty to me of a carnivore diet, is that it's really just an animal-based elimination diet that allows you to listen to your body and kind of ride this wave as efficiently as possible,
It is funny. You take some carnivores, some clean carnivores, to a restaurant, and we can sniff out they're cooking with seed oils.
Oh, as soon as you walk in, the place stinks like putrid oil. It stinks.
Or, ooh, they added garlic to this. And,
Right.
and some people are cool with, and some people have reactions. So we're like, ooh, they added, it's interesting how we can sniff things out. Ooh, this butter isn't real.
Oh, for sure. The first time that I went to a restaurant, I went with in like 2.5 years since Carnivore. I went with my brother, and I went in there, and I was like, this smells like seed oil. And I was like, the whole place reeked of it. And when the steaks came out, I was actually going, I can't believe I used to eat that. It actually smells putrid. Like, it smells putrid to me. It was the craziest thing. And now you can smell when you open the door of a restaurant if it's got seed oil they're cooking in there. It stinks up the whole place. It's crazy.
It's so weird, because we've been doing this for a few years or whatever. For me, it'll be 2 years in January. And when you go around, you're like, why are you still doing this? Like, why are you still using seed oils? Like,
right.
This has been well known for a while that this is super toxic, and it's pretty much one of the main contributors to all the disease we have right now. Like, what?
For sure.
And you ask them, could you use real butter on my food? And they look at you like you have 6 heads. It's like, what world do we live in? I think it's Dr. Rimka just posted one of, the food before versus today. I know there's tons of those out there, but hers was really good. And it just goes to show, like my in-laws will say, I don't need to change. I've eaten like this my whole life. It's fine. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. The food when you were growing up is different than it is today. Like, very different.
For sure.
And not to mention, you're not fine. Like, you're not feeling well, you're brain foggy, and you just think that's part of getting old, and that's not true.
No, it's not. And you walk around and you see everybody now. I mean, inflammation watching is like a new hobby now. When you walk around,
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of hilarious. You just look around and you're like, oh, that guy's miserable. He doesn't feel good. You can see it. They wear it on their face and their skin. You know,
Makes
you
me
look at
sad
the.
to see all the inflamed kid faces.
Mhm.
Like it's becoming very common for kids to have a pie face, but
Yeah,
maybe
moon
a
face.
regular sized body, but a pie face, and you're like, oh, your insides.
Yeah, for sure.
You're
I
5
know.
seconds away from blowing up everywhere else too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's incredible. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hello, Ellie.
How do you keep your positive outlook on life?
Good friends. I don't know if we're allowed to go into this, but
Absolutely.
gratitude and God.
100%.
You know, I will still like I have a very bad I know he's not watching. So I have a very bad situation with my ex-husband and our custody situation, and it's very abusive. And it's been going on for 10 years. And it's still not getting better. And in the beginning, I used to get these and I used to get so traumatized. And now I get it. And I just immediately go, what can I be grateful for? And what can I control? That's what I try to focus on. And what can I give to God? And everything else, if it's going to bother me for 5 minutes, it is, because this is real life. Nobody, I mean, I'm not feelingless,
Mm,
but I'm feeling a lot better since carnivore, like emotionally, you know.
for
But
sure.
gratitude, God, what can I control and what can I give to him?
Yeah, right. 100%. Doug, Biggest Loser Carnivore Edition would be good. I think they should just start another one called The Biggest Winner and just do carnivore.
I would love whoever starts organizing this, I would love to be part of that
Right?
and help with the show because, you know, but then in a sense, is it basically reversed? Although that was just for
No, I think
disease.
we should pick carnivores against vegans, and then
Oh,
we'll see who loses more, and who's gaunt and bitter, and who's happy at the end of it. That might be funny.
1 second.
No worries. No
On the
worries.
table. Did you go to the lighter?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You weren't here. You weren't here. I tried to grab my bag, but you weren't here.
Okay, sorry.
No
You're
worries.
good.
It's my daughter. She's at dad's right now, so it was like, is it a ghost? What are you doing here?
Let's see. From my experience and from testimony, if you're starving yourself, you have already failed. Yeah, 100%.
yeah. It's only a matter of time before you're off.
Yeah,
What I
well,
love about carnivore is all the healing. When we
sure.
do things, it's to heal. When we do it, it's to feel better. And then weight loss is a consequence. It's a additional side piece.
For sure. I remember when I was 600 pounds, the dentist chair wouldn't raise up. They thought it was broken. I got off and no chair worked fine. Oh yeah, we could start a we could start a list of those instances for sure. I work construction, and it was funny because I get up in the scissor lift, the big scissor lift with the guys, and up there to run some conduit or pull wire or whatever, and I would have to jump. And every time I'd jump, the scissor lift would come up, and then I'd come down, and I'd have to jump all the way to get us up there because I was blocking the scissor lift down. It was the funniest thing ever. The guys were laughing so hard. Oh my
I
God.
get very
imagine,
first.
the
Sorry.
simple things too of like going in an elevator. All
For
the
sure.
simple things and how it's a reminder all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
The very first call that I had with Todd, we talked about things like this. And one of them was when we were trying to exercise and we'd jump on the treadmill because we were pumped. We wanted to try and lose this weight.
And it would slip.
And it would slip. So we're trying to walk and this mat's slipping and we weren't going anywhere. So we were
it's
heading
hilarious.
to the treadmill. Yeah.
I've had treadmill slip.
Yeah. So
It's
funny.
nice to know you're not the only one. Because
For
I just thought, I was
That
a
is
freak.
such an
and
isolating, hard thing when it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. I don't know. I like I said, my brain was broken, so I always found that stuff funny. I would start laughing hysterically. I'm like, well, this isn't going anywhere. I'm walking
No.
the treadmill backwards.
I had the pity party. I was in denial. I was like, oh, I'm broken and I've broken everything else. And yeah, it's not a good place to be.
No, you just at a
Mhm.
certain point, you just got to laugh at it because it's so, it just is what it is. And it is kind of funny. I remember when we were at work, and I've told this story before, but I fell through there's temporary stairs, and I was, hustling because I was trying to prove that I was not, I wasn't gaining weight because I was lazy. So I was hustling. I was always running, and I ran and I took off down the temporary job site stairs, and all the stairs busted out right under me, and I fell all the way through the stairs, through the floor below. I was trying to catch the stud wall on the side as I was going through, and I busted through, landed at the bottom, and on the intermediate landing was the owner of the construction company, the owner of the building, and the safety guy, all sitting there, and they just watched me go through the stairs on the job site, and I blew them up to shrapnel,
Did
and I
you
landed.
break anything?
So I was pretty stout, so
Just the
just my
stairs.
pride in the stairs. So when I got down, my leg was as black could be from the knee all the way down to the ankle, and it swelled up like the whole thing because I ran my legs down a 2x4 or something that was on that stair tread, and I was young. I was like probably 17, 18 years old when that happened. So I was made of steel back then. But anyhow, I got up and I was like, and it's the winter time in West Yellowstone, Montana. I'm like, why is it cold? And it's because I'd ripped my bibs open all the way from like the belly all the way down, just split them wide open. So I'm standing there in my underwear with my bibs ripped off. Oh, I was laughing so hard sitting in front of those guys, but it was so hilarious because I had to go home, get a new set of bibs on, come back. I was kind of limping because my leg hurt pretty good from it, but I'm trying to shake it off and laugh it off. And I go in there, and they got a crew of like 15 carpenters working on all the staircases, reinforcing them. They're like, you guys fix these stairs for that big guy comes back through here and wreaks havoc. It was pretty funny.
For The Biggest Loser, after we didn't make the show, we met in the courtyard so that we can meet with the doctor and he could tell us what's the plan, we're all brokenhearted and sad and crying, but also having fun because big people are funny. They are. Like most big people are really delightful to talk to. And so even though we were sad, we were actually having a damn good time. But then we sat down and all the chairs just kept breaking. Like we broke like all the chairs in the courtyard. We really, really did. And they just kept breaking. And I mean, we were laughing at it, but mortified, but also like finally in good company. Like, can you imagine getting that opportunity to be with other people like you in real life?
Sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And yeah. So we kind of had a similar thing.
Yeah, I totally guarantee it. And of course it's going to be funny. And the idea that they put out wimpy chairs at The Biggest Loser is the funniest thing ever. It's like, whatever, you guys got this coming.
Well, we're in California, where all they eat is like wheatgrass. So they're used to tiny little chairs.
Right. I know.
Then here comes The Biggest Loser TV show.
Right. I know. It's just like, we all know what it's like to go to a friend's house and be like, I appreciate you inviting me over, but if I sit on any of this, I'm going to turn it to shrapnel. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about we get a rain check? Yeah, it's hilarious. Oh man. 6 years ago when I first went carnivore, there was an old man whose channel was Butter Bob. I remember Butter Bob. I watched Butter Bob. He was attacked by vegans and eventually ended his channel because of the hate. He was an inspiration. Yeah, I mean, bring it on.
Well, now we're not alone. Like poor Butter Bob was probably standing solo.
Exactly.
Now we're a huge group. Go to Hack Your Health. You don't want to mess with our group. On top of that, most of us lift weights and are pretty freaking strong.
Right. For sure. Well, it's like, what is a vegan going to tell us? I mean, they're look, the ones that attack people, like who wants to be that miserable, right? To be those people. Mm-hmm. It's hilarious to watch how just miserable they are. It's like, you're not winning anybody's, hearts and minds of anybody. What is priming? Todd mentioned it last week on live with Lindy and I think with Lindy, I think. Okay. Priming is basically really it's just eating like it's your job for a while with the purpose of building up your metabolism, right? And I thought it was nonsense too until I did the Steak and Butter Gang's priming protocol, and it works. Let me tell you, it works, and I still use it to this day. And then I was happy to see Thomas DeLorme has a video, and it's like the top 10 things I learned from other experts or something. But the very first one on there, he's an MMA coach, and he talks about when he's like at the top of the food chain, and he coaches these big UFC fighters. And he said when one of my fighters comes in and has a big fight to do, and he's got to drop weight for a weight class, he said I'll get him in here, and he said I can drop him down to 1,400 calories sometimes, and sometimes these I think it's called like a metamorphosis body type or whatever, like DC always says I'm that body type or whatever. I don't know much about it, but big people like us have that body type where it was just going to hold on to weight. And if you try to restrict, like it'll just go on lockdown. And he said, so these fighters, when he gets these big guys that come in that he's got to train, he can cut them down to 1,400 calories a day, 1,700 calories, run them for 12 hours a day, and they won't lose a pound. But he said if he takes them, makes them eat 7,000 calories of meat, fat, and meat, and boosts their metabolism, then he can drop them down to just like 2,800 calories, and they'll drop weight because their metabolism's picked up. Well, I had that same experience when I did OMAD for 7 months, and then my metabolism crashed after 7 months of OMAD on carnivore. I stalled out. I started restricting more and more and more. Pushed it to 9 months until my metabolism was just smoked. I was starting to get depressed again, super tired. So I joined the Steak and Butter Gang, and I couldn't hardly eat 1.5 pounds of meat a day at that time. And over a 5-week period, I ate like it's my job. You eat about 3 times a day, and you kind of force it down. And within 5 weeks, I went from not being able to eat 1.5 pounds of meat a day to eating 7 pounds of meat for the next 6 months until my metabolism shot through the roof. And I gained 21 pounds when I was doing that, but I lost 3 shirt sizes because it was all bone density and muscle when I was eating that 7 pounds of meat a day. And then I've always been able to enjoy that high metabolism now. So now when I actually fast, instead of my body just holding on to it, being super tired, having low glucose and everything, now my body just lets go of it, and it just dumps the weight. And so you can get lean. And then as soon as you do too much of that, you'll know because your metabolism starts slowing down again, which is what happened to me now just on Sunday. And now I'm repriming to build up my metabolism. So just feed it. Just feed it. I even put cheese back in my diet because I need my appetite to open up, and cheese will open up your appetite. So I put it back in. I'm going to just hammer the protein and the fat in for the next 3 weeks. My metabolism will raise up, and then right back to fasting and working out, and it's a beautiful thing it's a beautiful tool to have for sure.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I tend to undereat as well because of the lap band restriction. I can't get the food in. I start to lose my hair. My metabolism tanks as well. So it is difficult for me to prime. So I have to concentrate on eating like 5 bites every hour and just get the food into me that way. I can't sit down and do a Todd-sized meal. I would love to. It just doesn't happen. So even if you do have a restriction with the gastric band or lap band, you can still prime. You just have to have a lot of small meals throughout the day. So it's more grazing, but that gets the meat into you, gets me nourished. And I'll do that for like a 3-day prime. And that's enough to sort of stop the hair loss from happening and, sort of get my metabolism going. And then the weight starts to drop again. So it is a really good tool to use when things slow down or stop.
It was never until carnivore that anybody explained to me why these diets were never working for me, or why they stopped working, or why I'd continue to work them and my weight would start going up. Nobody ever explained to me how does our body feel and how much smarter our bodies are than we are. So our body knows if you're not eating, it says, oh, we're in a famine. So it slows itself down because it's so much smarter than we are. And when you prime and you feed your body goes, ooh, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Yes.
Everything's
Yep.
okay. And so even this summer when I was definitely overeating, I mean, part of me was like, well, I'm metabolism boosting.
Right. Right.
Yes.
You know, I'm
Seriously.
definitely, and so that is another thing that's so different from carnivore than anything else. There is no other diet that says it's okay to feed yourself.
Right.
You know, it's okay actually to gain a few pounds, and it's actually a good healthy thing to let your metabolism heal, repair, and feel comfortable. Let your
It
body
is.
Yeah,
Because
and you just think too about birth, like I can't birth my baby. My body birthed my baby. You know, our bodies are so smart.
so smart. Yeah, and I mean, imagine if you had a body that only ever lost weight. Of course, your body would freak out, right? If it never put on some weight, if it never saw the reverse, it would be like, okay, well, we can't keep doing this. I mean, our body's super resilient, and I love listening to Dr. Kiltz talk about that too. He's like, our body likes to have some weight. Our body likes to have some body fat. Like this is a safe thing. We've gotten it all wrong where we think that fat equals unhealthy, where it's just a parallel symptom. The same thing that's making you unhealthy is making you fat, but your body's actually trying to defend you. It's trying to protect your metabolic system and all the garbage that you're putting in there. It's trying to actually help you, but you got to let it be safe, just like you said, to let go of some of this weight. And part of letting it be safe is letting it gain some weight sometimes. Because if it's just on a decline, it's sitting here going, by our calculations, if we keep this up, you're going to die like another
Yeah.
year, So it thinks it's got to put the brakes on and know that the environment's safe and that you have food before it'll keep letting you lose weight. I mean, it's a crazy thing, but how beautiful is, I mean, that's what's fun about it is now when I fast, I can fast hard, but when I eat, I can eat hard. I don't have to feel bad about it. I can go put down 7 pounds of meat and not care, at all. Just know that it's a healthy, good thing.
And there's only so many calories you can restrict. I mean, I don't talk calories, but they say, reduce your calories, keep exercising. Well, what happens when you get to 800 calories per day? You're exercising like it's your job and everything's stopped. You're still not losing weight. And they just tell you, oh, you're doing it wrong. You must be doing something wrong. It's like, no, you're sticking to their plan and nothing's happening. The scales are not moving. And it makes you feel even worse. I'm a failure. I can't do this. That's a real confidence breaker. So
For sure.
no, I love priming.
Shout out to Brett. Everybody go check out Brett at Who's Your Carnivore if you don't mind. He's got an awesome channel.
Hi, Brett.
Bella's Steak and Butter Gal is the influencer who finally got me interested in Committed. It was a thrill to meet her in Austin Expo and Todd as well. That's awesome. Very nice meeting you. Let's see here. Cat. Well, that's certainly disturbing to hear about the seizures eating chicken. I'm glad your dog is well, Todd. Yeah, absolutely. Cosette's doing fantastic now that she's not eating the chicken. But yeah, it's a real thing.
How old is she now, Todd?
She's 18 going on 19.
18.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
She's going to make it 20, I think.
Wow.
She's still like a puppy too. So
yeah, she is. She's smart. She's got some, her hips are sore, but her brain's all there. She came in today, was playing with a toy because I gave her, I fed her that I had meat aversion. So I ended up feeding her all that New York strip roast that I smoked. And that made her pretty happy. So she was bombing around. Then she got herself sore because she's like, oh, I'm not a puppy anymore. She's running around the house playing. Brett, do you have a difficulty eating enough because of gastric bypass? Sorry if you already got this question. I'm late to the party.
At first, I definitely did. And sometimes I still do. But mostly it kind of fixed itself. And I feel like I had such a tough case because I couldn't eat anything before this. I was getting sick every time I ate. I had such a tough case. And it really has healed. And fluids have really come back.
Yeah, it really does work for sure. That was one thing. So that was another thing I've learned in priming was what at first when I was under eating, my metabolism tanked. that seemed to have something directly related to do with my gut microbiome because when I started priming, I went from taking 7 to 8 hours to digest like 1.5 pounds of meat to when I was priming at the end, I could digest 4 pounds of meat in 3.5 hours, you know? So your gut really does heal. It's quite incredible. Jeanette, can you puree meat with bone broth? To me, like baby food to make it easier to consume. I don't see why not.
Yeah, you sure can. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could. I do a lot of slow cooked meats. I throw it in the slow cooker and make it really runny like soup. But sometimes I feel that that can also get stuck as well. I don't know what it is, but yeah. The puree meat does sound a bit awful, doesn't it?
Or you could, if anybody's looking for suggestions, you could make pemmican because that is so easily to go down. You could eat some dehydrated meats. You could use some of those protein powders. I like Keto Chow has unsweetened beef powders. I like them. And it comes with 130 your minerals, so it's different than the competition, but Equipped is also great.
I like the
I
pemmican idea.
wish. I feel like this is a channel where I could totally show you what I got going on.
Muscle. Oh, I actually looked into this. I think I'm gonna have to have that done because I had a hernia that it seems like something busted on the left hand side of my abs. So I think I might actually have to have that done. Huh. That's interesting.
I know that the insurance would not cover it because I've been working towards this weight for so long and I haven't gotten over a certain point in the last 10 years. I haven't gotten over 215. Like I haven't gotten anywhere near my highest in 10 years. And so my skin really has done better. I mean, as I lift my arms, but I mean, this is like nothing.
Right.
This is nothing. And so I think it's going to just keep healing up, but am I going to lie that if I ever get to my goal is like 20% body fat. I don't know what that number is on the scale, but like 20% is like so athletic. If I ever get there, we'll see, you know. But
Right.
I think even after you get there, you want to wait at least a couple years, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how you are because if you've lost hundreds of pounds, carrying that
Yeah.
around can actually cause rashes and get caught, and it's really tough. But you know, if you just got a little bit hanging, you know, can you wait a couple years? Because I'm going to try. Plus, I got to save up.
Especially with fasting. Yeah, and that's the biggest one. I mean, like I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to end up having 4 for sure, but probably 5 of those skin reduction surgeries. But it just is what it is. I mean, it's a blessing to have the option to need it. So
Yeah, and I felt the same way because I've actually booked in to have this surgery done in February, and I actually just went in. It was a two-year waiting list to get in to see this guy, and I actually said I'm not anywhere near ready to have this surgery, but I just wanted to see what my options were because I have to pay like for the premium health insurance here in Australia, which is quite a lot of money to actually have the surgery because it isn't covered at all, and I'm going to be out of pocket a ton of money, but is it going to be an option? Is it worth paying all this money to have this surgery, or should I just quit it altogether and just, you know, be done with it? And he said, no, you do need it now because it's impacting my life, having this big mass in front of me. I can't, you know, it affects what clothes I can't wear, you know, trousers and pants and things like that. Exercising is really difficult because I'm trying to jump or trying to walk and this mass is in the way. So it would make my life a lot easier if it wasn't there. Then I can be more active and do all the things that normal people do. And then obviously there's going to be revisions later because I'll continue to lose weight. But he said, no, you need to have this done now. It's impacting you. It is going to cause issues if you don't, and just continue. Yeah, it'll just make my life a lot easier. So I kind of get that. I did want to wait till have one surgery rather than multiple surgeries, but I can see where he's coming from as well. But if you didn't have a lot to lose and, you know, you're comfortable and it's not holding you back in everyday life, then, yeah, wait till you get to your goal weight. And if you need it, then go for it. If not, I think the fasting and autophagy might be a good way to go.
For
I
sure.
am so interested to watch your guys' journeys because I know you guys have also looked into the importance of the lymphatic system. So I'm
Yeah.
so interested to see this. And then, Todd, you were talking about the additional therapies you're going to be doing.
Mhm.
I find this so interesting because if we're going to do it, we got to do it right because otherwise it could trigger things.
For sure.
Yeah, and my surgeon is a lymphatic specialist. I've made sure of that. I don't want anybody touching me unless they know all about the lymphatic system. So
Yeah.
I had to do my research on that and find someone I'm going to trust.
For sure. No, it'll be great to see it kind of pan out. And I think, with everything else, there's a lot of good information out there. What I'm hoping is Dr. Leslie Keith was talking about how they have been developing new techniques, I think, to put dye into the lymphatic system so that you can watch what lymph nodes are actually leaking.
So we can find out what's going on.
So we can find out what lymph nodes are leaking, and not only that, but we can track to where it's leaking and what other organs it's affecting. Like for me, when my thoracic ducts, she was the one that pinpointed for me that's where my lung issues used to come from, was my thoracic duct leaking backwards into my lungs. And I was like, that makes a lot of really good sense. So if they could do that and watch not only where you're leaking fluid and where your blockages are in your lymphatic system, but also where that fluid that is escaping, where it's going and what organs it's affecting, I think that is going to be a game changer. That's going to be pretty incredible. So definitely looking forward to that. My sister is a mess after a reversal. I think she's talking of gastric bypass. Most of her intestines are gone 3 to 6 feet at the most.
Yes, that's my fear.
Yeah.
Which is why, but yeah.
I like to add that she had gastric bypass in 1977 to 78 and waited 20 years to reverse it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a rough one for sure. I just got blood work done and my sugars are running high, 131 average. I think it's because of too much protein causing excess gluconeogenesis. If not, then what? Yeah, I think it's got to be that, right? And I asked Dr. Hampton about it, and he's like, "Look, you might just be super insulin resistant, and you any amount of gluconeogenesis might just send you through the roof. So you could be in the same boat, Hoosier." So all that I did is at first, I think if you do some dry fasting, it'll make you a little bit more fat adapt, and then just try to find out how much protein you can have before you go into gluconeogenesis and then cut it off. I was able to track mine, and I know that anything over 65 grams of protein in a 2-hour window is going to cause me to go into gluconeogenesis,
So Dr. Boz says that we have excess glucose in our liver. And as we're doing this, we got to burn that off. And for some people, depending on your hormones and your metabolic health, that it can take longer than other people. So some people can have that high sugar for quite a while as you burn it all off. So that's one theory. And then Maria Emmerich's team says that generally speaking, high blood sugar while you're eating meat shouldn't cause the same insulin problem. So you can have high blood sugar, but not actually be in the same state as someone who has high blood sugar who's eating carbs, because the insulin response is different.
Well, that'd be interesting. The insulin response for me definitely doesn't feel different. I would guess that that's going to depend on how insulin resistant you are,
Mm-hmm.
Because
depends on where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can definitely tell you the reason why I noticed that I was having gluconeogenesis issues at first was because it was putting me into a sugar coma. Like I would eat and then I'd want to go take a nap. I was falling asleep at my desk, which I hadn't had for months on Carnivore. That was one of the beautiful things that went away on Carnivore, was no sugar crashes. And all of a sudden I'm eating meat and I'm having sugar crashes. I'm like, what the heck? And I talked to, he was actually one of Baker's coaches, and he's like, yeah, I tracked this. What ends up happening is you get away with eating more protein than you need, at first because your metabolic process for gluconeogenesis is not very efficient. But as that heals and your body heals, it becomes efficient. It trains it to make glucose out of excess protein. Then you start spiking your insulin, and he goes, and for people that are insulin resistant, like me and him were, it caused a real glucose spike and a real insulin response to it. So I think that it's probably depends on who you are for sure, but I mean, it felt exactly like I was drinking, a couple Red Bulls and having a crash, right? That's what it felt like. And for me, I definitely, I believe in the fasted insulin set point that Jason Fung talks about quite a bit, and I believe that the only way to get that down and to try to heal the root cause of insulin resistance is long fasting and to not spike your insulin if you can, as little as possible. So that's why I'm always very careful not to spike it with protein. And if you are spiking it in with protein, what good is it? It's still turning into glucose and you're not using it for fat or protein building blocks. So why eat more than that? Because you're kind of defeating the purpose, and that's just I'm certainly no expert in it, but that's just my approach to it, I guess. Very interesting. Our bodies naturally change over time. Sometimes I need more fat, sometimes I need less. I can smell sugar through a sealed package of sweet. It gives me headaches. Gross. I agree.
She's talking about how do I stay so positive? And I said, good friends.
That's right.
It's true. When you feel loved and supported, you're a lot more positive of a person.
For sure. Good community. What season of Biggest Loser were you on, Adrian? Season
3. I'm an OG.
Still don't know what to think because if you go on vegan channels and see the same claims I see on Carnivore, I don't know. Maybe it works for some people. Yeah, go ahead.
What is that show? Is it Alone? Is it called Alone?
Yeah.
Where they
I love
leave
Alone.
the people out in the woods, and the people who cannot source meat are the first people out. They're the first people that get sick, no energy, and they cannot hack it. But the people who can support meat, those are the ones who win. Because in real life, we can't live off of plants.
For sure.
Yeah, just the ones that live off the berries and they get sick and they have to leave there early. Yeah.
Well, it is. And then also look at like lifelong vegans. Look at like lifelong vegetarians, right? They all have the sunken in shoulders. Okay, it's called the honeymoon diet. So yes, you're gonna feel better because you're not eating all the sugar and the processed crap in higher quantities, but you're also not going to get nutrients. And also you can look at all the vegans that lose, the women always seem to have hormone problems and lose their cycles and can't get pregnant. And, they have fertility issues. Men have testosterone issues. You can listen to a lot of them. They're not exactly the happiest bunch of people you've ever dealt with either. Like they're a pretty cranky, bitter group of people. I believe that's because they don't have, and I'm not trying to be mean to them, but I really think it's because they don't have proper hormone balance, right? I think they need the fat. They're starving. I think their brains are being affected. But you look at them and look at their frame, look at their sunken in shoulders, their rounded shoulders and everything. And then go look at, some of the carnivore guys that have been doing it like, 10 years. Look at the vegans that do it for 10 years. Then look at the carnivore guys that are doing it for 10 years.
Yep.
To me, that's all the proof you need. That's just my opinion, but
I will say on vegan I got better, but it didn't last. I got mean pretty quickly too. I think that's due to deficiency. I'm a year on carnivore, not mean, but actually happy and laughing a lot.
Yay!
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome, Linda.
that's awesome. Just follow up.
I really feel carnivore will be different, but 5 years is in the shelf life of a diehard vegan without doctor assistance. You need supplements to be a successful vegan. At 5 years, it's injections. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
I just think of Sally Norton, who made it, what, 20, 30 years, but completely broke her body.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
her spine started fusing together. She suffered from infertility, and she has autoimmune illness. Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it's just a stepping stone to finding something that works. It is good to take out all the processed food and junk out of your diet. And I guess vegan, vegetarian is a good way of doing it, and you will get benefits. But then things start to go a little bit south and you need to change it up again. And I think it's just even with us, sometimes we're carnivores, sometimes there's dirty carnivores, and you've got lion diet, and we keep changing as our body adapts to things. I think you need to just keep learning about your body and having all these tools under your belt to maintain.
Yeah. The body likes change. You got to mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just throwing some of these out there. He had a few ideas. Let's see.
Cool.
My fasting insulin went up 2. I think I need to lower my protein and increase my fat. N equals 1, I guess. It's worth a try for sure. That's what I needed to do until, it just made sense to me that everything is healing. And so it made sense to me that, okay, so as my body ran out of glucose and my body had been used to living on glucose for so long, of course, my body would try to make, the metabolic pathway for gluconeogenesis more efficient, right? So it did that and it was successful. It healed it. Then as I was fasting, especially dry fasting, I became more fat adapt. So there's kind of this, we're changing, we're healing. We are, you can look, anybody that's doing this, you can look at your body changing, right? My frame's different, my posture's different, my composition's different. So of course, the same things happen for these metabolic pathways to fat adaptation, to, for the mitochondria, for the lymphatic system, and for gluconeogenesis. So it makes sense that we're going to run into a few fluctuations and that this isn't going to be perfectly dogmatic, the whole time where it's either and or, we're going to have to kind of adjust. So it makes sense to me. And if it's not working, just try changing it up and see what fits you,
Can I share a page?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This might be really helpful to the people who are the protein is causing the insulin issues.
Yeah.
Is my friend Tammy. She's a Dr. Boz coach, and she goes through the keto continuum, which is about eating the fat, building your metabolism, healing your hormones. So I haven't done her program personally, but it's on my mind and my heart that this is a great program for truly healing. And she's a cancer survivor and has healed an insane amount of neuropathy. What do you call it? Where your hands and your
Right.
Yeah,
Neuropathy.
Yeah.
Yes.
neuropathy. She's healed
Yes.
neuropathy. She's healed her brain. She's healed her metabolism. So she's a great one to go to. But like you guys are saying, she's encouraging high fat and metabolism building, and fasting is part of the keto continuum. Like significant fasting is part of the keto continuum.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's even Leslie Key said that. She's like, sometimes there are people out there that just feel better not eating, and I'm like, I think I'm one of those people because I love fast. I love fast after 72 hours is when I think they do the most benefit for me, so yeah.
I love it after the first day. That first day is kind of
First day's tough.
well, and that's why
Yeah.
there's
only
tricks.
mentally. I don't mean physically, because if it's physically tough, then you're not in the right space maybe to be
Right.
doing it, but it's mentally tough.
Yeah,
But
my
then once
favorite.
you get that energy and you get that glow and you start feeling good and your blood sugar stabilizes and you start healing and you're using your own body to energize yourself, then it feels great.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I love to start a fast at 11 a.m. because by the time I don't get hungry again until I'm already asleep. And then by the time I wake up, I've slept through like the hardest part of the fast. Right. And so that
Good
seems,
one.
yeah. And so when I wake up, I'm already pretty much through the worst part of the fasting phase, and I'm deep into ketosis. And then it really doesn't bother me. Like maybe,
great.
Yeah,
That's a great tip.
it works well for me for sure. Let's see. Lots of things can cause high blood sugar. Stress, also excessive blue light exposure has been Shown to raise blood sugar, i.e., phones, computers, TV screens, artificial LED light at night. That's
All the
nurse.
things I'm doing right now.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
end. After this, I'm talking to Dr. Chafee.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Holy
I
cow!
know. I'm nervous.
Are you okay? Because I don't know if we told you, but we go for 3 hours usually. Are you
Oh, I will definitely have to leave before then because I
Yeah.
gotta write some questions down for him.
No worries. It's totally fine. We forget to tell everybody, but our Sunday show is 3 hours.
Wow. You
Right.
guys go.
We
We
like
do.
to answer questions on Sundays for sure.
Once you put a quarter in Todd, he doesn't shut up.
I know, and I love it. He's very, very well studied.
well, or just mouthing one of the two. Question. Would doing a weekly 37-hour fast help? I think if you are, nutriently efficient or sufficient, I think so, but not if you're in a calorie deficit or if your metabolism is crashed. You got to get your metabolism out of the toilet first. You got to heal first, get your body in a good metabolic state. Then you can do nourish fasting. And yeah, 37-hour fasts are fantastic. They're great. I think
if you're white knuckling, then you need to nourish yourself
Ready
first
for it.
before you start it.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like dreaming about food, like thinking about food at all times, being in a stressed state because, you're so stressed out about not being able to eat and counting down the hours and all those things. It should be, on a
Walking
long,
the park.
yeah, well, on a long fast, usually the hardest part now, if it's going right, is me going, I'm kind of bored.
Yeah.
You get bored not eating food. That's weird. It's not that you're craving it, but it's just like you just took out kind of like a ritual or
Just
something.
chewing.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I would like to taste food right now. Like it's kind of what it's like. It's kind of strange, but no, I think it's incredibly healing. My daughter told me, "Mom, you're just more social now." Absolutely. Okay.
Can I tell you
Yeah.
something really funny? I just realized I had access to the comments. I'm so sorry if anybody messaged me.
No worries.
Oh. I swear my brain has absolutely gotten better since the carnivore diet, which is just a testament to how bad it was. I mean, I
Right.
was desperate. I couldn't even drive before starting the carnivore diet. I could not even drive. I was having terror. I was a mess. I was anxious, like my heart. I would have intrusive thoughts when I drive over bridges.
Yeah. For sure. I know exactly what you mean. It's so crazy, but it is so amazing how healing, the animal fat is for, because I'm not sure what happened, but I think when I got COVID, I think I actually had a stroke, but they couldn't fit me in an MRI to tell me. But for a long time there, like 6 months, I could not recall words and it would be right there. But I really had a hard time stringing together sentences because I couldn't pull up words, So something had happened to my brain because when I woke up that day, I had a massive headache and I'd stopped breathing and my oxygen was like, I was like 58% saturation, which was like deadly low, And so they thought that I probably had a stroke from not breathing, from the COVID, lung, because I wasn't going in. I put on all the fluid, but I'll be danged if that didn't heal up in just like 8 months. And Michael will still tell you I got brain damage, but I don't think most people notice that. A year and a half ago, I wore a 4X. Yesterday, I bought an XL, and it's loose. That's awesome, Carnivore.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Congrats.
Congratulations. That's incredible. All right. Question.
This is so sweet. My very good friend's mom is here.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
Yes, I love it. Hi, Kathy.
okay.
There.
Hi, Kathy.
There you go. Will you be live with Dr. Chafee?
I am doing a pre-record, so it'll be posted on my channel this week.
That's awesome.
Look forward to seeing that.
I'm going to be asking Kathy, my friend Kara Coughlin. Oh, I shouldn't have said her last name. Shoot. My friend Kara She has decided to try carnivore, and she gave me a whole list of questions. So I'm going to be asking Dr. Chafee about being a new carnivore, and I'll be asking him also about adrenal health and a few other things that I have to come up with after this call.
That's
Sounds
awesome.
great.
How hard is it to fast when cooking for others? I can't imagine.
That is hard. I have kids.
For sure. Honestly, at first it's pain, but then it's not hard at all. Like now I don't struggle with it at all. I used to, and I didn't make it to 40 days yet. So when I go to redo this 40 day, I wonder if I'll be singing a different tune when I'm cooking for my dog and mom on day 20 instead of day 7. But right now, I can cook for other people, feed them, and not care up to 7-8 days, and it's not a problem. But it was at first. It was hard at first, but at first a 5-day fast was hard. 84-hour fasts were hard, but then you start doing a 7-day fast, and then all those become easy. And then 7-day, it's just kind of a muscle you work up. And as long as you eat properly between the fasts and you reprime, which means, generally I'm eating like anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds of meat and 54 egg yolks every day in between the fast. But then when I fast, so all the nutrients are there. You're just burning off the energy. So it's kind of like a bulk and cut for a weightlifter type of thing, but you're also doing it to heal your metabolism so that when you are fasting, because if your metabolism slows down to a crawl and you're fasting, you might as well not be fasting at all, because it's just holding on to the weight and making you miserable. You need to actually be eating if that's the case. So you should not do a fast if you're metabolically, unhealthy at the time, for sure.
I think you scare everyone off by telling them how many eggs you eat too. You may want to clarify why you're eating all those eggs.
egg yolks only, which is actually not that much. 18 egg yolks is only about 12 ounces, and I drink them, and it's just for the DHEA, which is precursor to testosterone, which helps me build muscle and raises my testosterone. So it's just for the hormones. So I'm only doing that for the hormones. And I put them in this glass, and it only fills 18 egg yolks, only go up to there, which I used to drink, 15 sodas a day that were 12 ounces. Well, I can surely drink 10 to 12 ounces of egg yolks, and it's like a protein shake. And so I just do that 3 times a day, and that's 54 egg yolks a day. But the protein, the fat, and the DHEA and the testosterone boost that I get from it, it's really good, and it helps really boost my metabolism, builds muscle, and then that helps me burn more weight when I am fasting. So yeah, don't panic.
Yes. You don't need to have 54 eggs a day, but Todd has a reason for it, and it's working for him.
Right. And I'm just trying to heal low testosterone that I used to have, which is working fantastically, by the way. And also, I want to put on as much muscle as I can. And so it's just for the hormones, really. It's day 77 for me. I do a weekly fasting. I fuel up before I start. Exactly. That's all you got to do. Is
you do it.
Yep. And if your metabolism starts to crash, eat more. Eat more before you fast. And you will find the balance for yourself. For sure. Wow, I think we caught up to the comments. That almost never happens.
Excellent.
We were firing through them there. That's awesome. So, Adrian, I know you got to go here in about 15 minutes. What would you tell everybody if they were wanting to start carnivore? Where would you start them out at?
I think it's life-changing. Even my husband, he's standard American diet, and I never thought in 1 million years he would ever try it. And he didn't fully try it. Like, he cut out the pop, and I think he still had some French fries. But he felt so much different. He felt energy changes. He felt brain clarity. He felt inflammation come off. He felt fullness. He couldn't believe it. His mind was blown. He did this for like a month. His mind was blown. He's never been the same since. Nothing else you eat after this. It's just it's just, you just don't feel the same. You don't feel as good. And it can be hard to get off of it, but, it's easy to get off of it. It'd be hard to get back on, but you'll always know that carrot of like, that's how I felt when I was on there. Now for me, there were like illnesses I was told were not even curable, treatable, fixable. There's no pill for it. And there's nothing wrong with you. But I
Right.
was definitely sick. And this has healed things that I didn't even know needed healing.
For sure. Or that was possible to heal with carnivore.
Like, I've had anxiety my whole life. I was voted the most anxious person in my class in high school. Like, I was very, very anxious, and it was so anxious that it radiated and everybody knew. And that's like completely gone. Now you get the day-to-day emotions, but you can just really handle them so much easier. And when I see people really struggling with mental health, I just think, come on over, please. You have no idea how much better you can feel. And I've been talking to a nurse practitioner named Dave, who he has a company called Unscribe, and he works in the psych units, and he's seeing, these medicines they're not fixing people. They still have so many of these mental health issues. They really need diet change, and that's not even part of the protocol. My next thing would be, everybody around you is going to say, you're nuts. That's going to kill you. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to die. You're crazy. But all you have to do is think about what our ancestors ate. I live in Minnesota. My ancestors did not eat green beans year round. They did. And I also can imagine my ancestors not walking around going, ooh, look at that delicious leaf. Feast. Let's feast. Look at those leaves. And I think too about like how we've altered our plants. So like, today a raspberry might taste really good, but like, 150, 200 years ago, it was little and maybe bitter, and you'd have to catch it right at the right time before the birds do. So you'd only get to have a few, and you'd have to eat them quick, and it wouldn't be like year-round raspberries.
Right.
So I just think we ate game, and like a feast would be, we found a buffalo, we found a cow, we found a elk, we found a deer. There's a feast. Nobody was like, yay, I caught a bird. I mean, they probably were happy they caught a bird, but they were also kind of like, we're going to survive another day until we can find our bear.
For
or,
sure.
Something with some fat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just got to think, like, what did our ancestors do before all this disease, before all this obesity, before all these issues, before our brains were hacked with our food? And then you try it, and it's mind blowing.
Well, and you feel it and you go, okay, this opens it up. You realize what we're supposed to feel like. And then for me, when I found out that I feel best on ruminant animals, and ruminant animals, our brain is 70% fat and 30% protein, and ruminant animals are 70% fat and 30% protein. And I sit here and I go, it's almost like this is the exact food that nourishes our body that we're meant to eat, that was designed perfectly for us. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, 100%. And that's why the SBG Steak Butter Gang, their whole protocol on this is feasting and fasting, because the flip side of that is your metabolism would be high when you would feast, not just get by, not just have a little bit, but feast on the buffalo, because you would need a high functioning metabolism, a lot of explosive power to go kill another buffalo, right? To repeat the cycle. So you would fast for a few days because you ate a bunch. You'd be good for 2, 3, 4 days, and you would still have explosive power, and you would go kill another buffalo, which is what we were designed to do. But chronically under eating tells your body that there's no more buffalo, and that it can't. It has to slow your metabolism down, because now you're in a famine, right? But so there, the flip side, you have to feast and you have to fast. Those are what we're designed to do. But when you're feasting, don't fast and then eat a little bit peckish. Like you have to eat like it's your job. You really have to feast, because if you don't, your body's just like, oh, we're in a famine. We can't find
That
them
brings
all.
up another point. There was no snacking. It wasn't like, oh, I got a bunny, and then I got another bunny, and then I got a deer, and then I got a pig, and then I got an elk. No, you ate your food before it went rotten. You ate it there, and then you fasted until your next meal, which could be in the same day, but it might be a few days away.
Right. 100%.
Well, they couldn't pick up their phone and order food back then.
DoorDash was
DoorDash.
was pretty.
There was
clunky
no
back then.
eating every 2 hours.
Right.
That's not natural. And that brings
Mm.
into the sun and the earth. It is not natural to sit and breathe in our same off gas and whatever else is in here. And it's not natural for us to need to lather our skin with chemicals to
Right.
save us from the sun that we've been in our entire existence.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And the Taco Bell blow and goes every 2 hours because you're eating toxic junk. That's not normal either. Right. I laugh about that because it makes me laugh when people are like, you only go to the bathroom every 3 days. I'm like, yeah, because my body absorbs
Everything.
bit of the
Yep.
meat that I eat because I don't eat toxic junk anymore. You think, oh, you got to go to the bathroom 3 times a day. I'm like, no, that just means you're eating toxic junk. It's so
I
funny.
wonder how much our ancestors even went to the bathroom.
Probably not a lot. Probably once a week or something. If I'm guessing.
Yeah, which brings us to our water too. We're drinking this filtered, purified water. Our ancestors didn't. And I think that had to do too, like to support their gut biome, to support their mineral intake, to support, there's so many things we're doing. They didn't eat pasteurized eggs and milk.
Right.
I honestly, honey had to have been kind of rare because it would hurt.
Right. Well, and like you said, these things aren't readily available. Yeah, you might have one passing by, but also it's like, name one poisonous meat, outside of maybe like a puffer fish or something.
Good one.
There's no poisonous meat, but there's all sorts of poisonous berries, poisonous plants. Some of them, if you get the wrong mushroom, you're just dead. Right. And it's like, I don't think that they were sitting there. Like, it wasn't their first plan to have to figure out, like, hey, Bob, eat this berry. Do you live? Okay, we can eat that berry. They weren't. I don't think that it was optimal for everybody to figure out what berries they could eat and what berries would kill them. But on the flip side, yes, meat has teeth. But I'm just saying, once you killed it, you didn't have to worry about eating it.
Right.
Yeah, you were safe. You could eat it. Most plants and stuff, if you didn't know exactly where it was growing, that's proof right there that those things have a defense mechanism and that they're kind of fighting, And so I don't know. I've always thought that's kind of silly that they acted like, just like you said, well, no, fruits and vegetables. It's like they didn't have a farmer's market back then. They had a few berries here and there and a few scattered fruits, depending on your climate, and they were seasonal, and they went bad really quickly, It's pretty crazy.
That brings up the bugs. I feel like we weren't like, ooh, look at that grasshopper.
Right.
I doubt that we were like, let's feast on some grasshoppers.
No. Yeah, they were probably eating.
There are some bugs that some tribes have eaten, but
right.
I don't think it was their main source. I think you would die if all you had access to was bugs.
Yeah, I think that it was a famine. I don't think that they're feeling really good. And, I think if you're living on some berries and bugs, you're probably not living in the land of milk and honey. You're probably not, you probably would need time to move. You know what I mean?
You're definitely not happy.
No, for sure not. So I don't know when you see all this stuff, but it's pretty crazy. What's this one? Checked out my fridge and pantry, couldn't find anything to eat. Pork crackle kids. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. So I feel like this is becoming more and more mainstream, though. I think the word is getting out. I'm excited to see where this is going to go in another 3 or 4 years. My videos are one of my last video got banned, so pulled off of YouTube from talking about the jabs. So that's kind of funny. It does seem like they are starting to watch us.
Throttling.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it all just means we all have to get over to Rumble. That's what I think. We got to get our Rumble accounts built up because that's where Rumble and X is where we're going to have to be able to talk about this stuff. Because I think they are going to start coming after it because it's not
They don't
going
want
away
people
quietly.
healthy.
They don't, and it's not going away quietly. The air and water were not contaminated the way they are now either. Now we have to be alert for sure. Well,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look at the the bat soup flu that just happened. It doesn't even just have to be environmental contaminants; it can be biological, politically expedient contaminants. Let's see if that makes it through the algorithm or not. But yeah, there's all sorts of things, but that's just all the more reason to be healthy. To eat carnivore, to not be inflamed, to have the best immune system we can. That's another really good benefit to fasting, especially over 72 hours. Is the immune response to it is amazing. It really builds your immune cells. It's quite amazing. So I think we all just got to kind of stay the course, spread the word, and then we're going to see that. I think the powers that be are going to really. I can't tell what they're going to do. They're either going to just try to cancel all this or they're going to try to turn it into keto. I feel like keto was doing good, and then it got infiltrated by big food, and they made all the keto snacks and ruined it.
Yeah.
I feel like they
I don't
might.
know how you could ruin this. Like it's everything, anything is possible.
Yeah,
They ruined Quest.
Mhm.
Quest used to be kind of a decent product, and now it has seed oils and garbage in it.
100%. It's all full of junk. That's what I'm saying. And they keep doing it. Probably BlackRock or somebody bought them if you're really looking,
Mhm.
Do you ever stress eat? I feel like I don't stress eat anymore. I don't stress eat at all. It's so crazy how much of this stuff completely went away. Like I don't stress eat. I don't have anxiety. I don't have I literally look at stuff. It was weird. I don't know what happened. Oh, DoorDash sent me an advertisement on my phone. They're wondering if I'm alive because they're pretty sure I must have died if I did not ordering DoorDash anymore. And so I think I was their biggest customer in Montana there for a while. They sent me a $20 gift certificate and a Taco Bell menu. Anyhow, when that Taco Bell menu opened up on my phone, I looked at it. I was like, it was actually a weird feeling to remember what Taco Bell used to, taste like or whatever. And I was like, and it was actually a pretty good feeling because I was like, this is good when fast food all of a sudden is now like an odd feeling of like a long distance weird memory that I had. That means I made it far enough through this thing that there's no turning back. There's no weakness at all to it anymore. There's no pull at all. How about you guys? You guys do any stress eating or anything?
I don't even think about food at all anymore.
Yeah, I did a little bit after coming home from Texas. I kind of fell into a little bit of a depression, brought some carbs back in, and that's when that stress eating and that cycle began. So I've had to nip it in the bud, back on carnivore now. And those cravings and that want for stress eating is now going. So it definitely is when you've got carbs in your system, it is a danger for me. So that's why I need to keep it very, very strict. So I did sort of think that I had got my addiction all in order. Like it's going to be 3 years for me in January. And I thought, every now and then if you go out and, it was my birthday and you have a little treat meal, that is enough to make me spiral again. So it's not over. It's going to be with me forever, I think. As much as I wanted to believe that I'm strong now, I'm not. So it's something that I'm aware of and I know how to fix it now. I've got all the tools under my belt. So you just got to just keep with it. And if you do have that cheat or, have a stress meal, just forget about it, jump back on the wagon and, don't let that spiral into weeks and months of stress eating.
For sure.
I definitely still struggle with eating before bed. And that's like a comfort eating. And I wish I could say that comfort eating just went away, but I went all the way down to lion diet to try to get rid of any food that was giving me comfort. And even on Lion Diet, I found myself eating short ribs before bed. I don't know if this is just a human thing, I don't know if that's fixable, but if it is, I'm going to work on it. Like, I'm never going to give up. Um,
For sure.
yeah. So I've gotten to the point where just simply restricting isn't going to fix everything. I really do
Yeah.
have to do the work in here to just continue to work on the best habits I can every single day.
Yeah.
100%.
For us, my husband and I used to sit on the couch at night. We'd put the TV on, and that's when we would order snacks. It was always at that time. And so even to this day, we sit down at night when we watch the TV, and I have to keep my hands and my mind busy. I've got an iPad and I have a paint by number colouring app, and I sit there doing that. So if I'm doing that and keeping my hands and mind busy, I'm not thinking about food. But if the iPad's flat, those thoughts are there. And if they get really, really strong, I go to bed. I have to break that cycle. So it is still there, and I have to, that's my way of combating it. I'm not hungry. It's just that it's that habit that I need to break.
It's that
Yeah.
comfort. Unfortunately, my hormones have been so far off that I've even sometimes woken up in the middle of the night and then I'll sit there and I'll go, "You're not actually hungry, you nourished yourself. You're not actually hungry, you nourished yourself." But I think my hormones are so far off that I can't go back to sleep unless I go eat some hamburger or a piece of cheese. And so that's why I'm really looking at Tammy's program, because I feel like there is some healing that needs to happen. And I'm
For
never
sure.
going to give up. And I'm just admitting that I'm just not perfect. That, even going down to Lion Diet didn't fix this for me. And I was really hoping it would.
Yeah.
Sure.
What about Dr. Bright talks about having some butter by your bedside, and that helps reduce those cortisol levels, those stress. Just have a bite of butter, and she has it next to her bed. So if that happens,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
what
know
I was
you.
doing basically with the piece of cheese. Yeah. But butter would be less inflammatory and
Yeah.
more to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting
Makes
that good
sense.
fat.
And it doesn't that usually speak to like circadian rhythm and the blue light stuff too? Isn't that?
Probably because
Yeah, I
I've been
believe.
podcasting at night.
Yeah.
Because that's when all the good people are out.
You gotta get these are the blue light blocking glasses.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they're clear.
They're clear. I spent a little bit of money on them, but because I wear glasses anyway, so I got the blue light blocking ones. They really did help my sleep. They do actually make a huge difference. So,
Or just move to Australia. It's 11:30 a.m. here, so come and keep me company.
for sure. Hey Russ, everybody go check out Homesick Buckeye. Hey Russ, good to see you in here. I used to have a brother in Montana. Can you help me find him? I'm
That's
still
a big
here, you
state.
cheeky bugger.
Anyway, I think you need to leave now for Dr. Chafee.
Yeah.
I do, but
Yeah,
Cece,
yeah.
the pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for having me. I really looked forward to this. I'm petrified of interviewing Dr. Chafee, but I knew you guys would warm me up and that this would be fun.
Yeah.
That's
And it
awesome.
was. Thank you so much for having me. If you ever need anybody again, let me know. And I would love to have you all back on my show too.
Absolutely. We'd love to come on and yeah, tell Chafee we said hi. Try to make some jokes. I got him laughing one time. He's hard. You think he doesn't laugh, but he'll laugh. So
He
you can
loves
get
a
him
good
laughing
joke.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I think he's funny.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Have a great night.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming on, Adrian.
Thanks for coming on.
See
Take
ya.
care.
Thanks.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, she's lovely. So nice.
Let's see here. My husband has blue light blocking glasses from Zini, non-prescription. Yeah, they work really well.
I've got somewhere. I don't know where though. I've put them away somewhere safe.
For sure.
I got a pair.
Man, all this burger meat here is driving me crazy. I'm about to dig into this plate when we get off here. Thank God I'm priming. Oh man. Well,
I
that was
actually
really,
did a lamb roast in the smoker yesterday, so I'm going to go and shave some of that off slowly and eat that later.
that's awesome. Oh, I
Loving
should.
my smoker.
Here's what I'll do. I didn't show the the people the carnage. Let's
What
see here.
carnage is that?
Of the smoker today.
Oh,
Hold
your
on.
photos. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll share the
You're not fasting, are you, Michael? Not today.
So that was 50%. So I found, so this is 50% burger, 50% bacon. I went super heavy on the pickled jalapenos, and then I found this mustard horseradish that's actually really clean. And so I used that as a binder, and that made the best burgers. Look at those suckers. And I got this burger press to make them all into half-pound burgers. And then I put a brisket down in the bottom. So, and this I'm making for some other people too. So I put a little bit. That Meat Church Holy Cow seasoning's not actually too dirty. There's not. It's got some pepper in it, but it's
What's it
not
called?
bad. It's called, so it's Meat Church is the brand. It's called Holy Cow.
Meat churches? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Holy
It's-
cow.
Yeah, Holy Cow, and it's not. It wasn't too bad. It's none of the mixed barbecue spices, but it didn't have a bunch of soybean oil or a bunch of sugars in it. It had less than less than a half a gram of carbs per serving, which wasn't terrible. So, it's
So all
about,
that hamburger's going to drip onto your brisket. It's going to give it another flavour,
More
isn't
flavor.
it?
I
Oh, yeah.
did. Yeah,
Wow.
I stacked all the burgers so that all the bacon grease would drip onto the brisket while I was doing it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Look good.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so good. And then right now I'm eating cheese again because when my metabolism crashed from that last fast I did, I came out of it with meat aversion. I didn't want to eat nothing. That's why I was like, okay, I got to bring back the bacon and the hamburger because I smoked a whole New York roast, a 20-pound New York roast, and I didn't want to eat any of it. It didn't taste good at all to me. And I was like, oh no, I crashed my metabolism. So I'm like, well, I know what I will like, and that's pickled jalapenos and cheese. So this cheese, the white cheese is white cheddar horseradish cheese, smoked white cheddar horseradish cheese, which is delicious.
So,
And then this is just extra sharp cheddar. But let me tell you, those burgers, well, here's the finished product of that sucker. These things turned out amazing and they smell amazing. And I already ate 2 of them, but I'm going to eat about 4 more of them here in a second. And then, I should check on the brisket and see if it's time to. I should check on the brisket. Let me look and see what temperature it's at because that.
I love that you can check it on your phone. We actually have to physically walk over to the machine and check the temperature. But I don't mind because I get to smell that smoky wood. So it's nice.
you're getting exercise.
What the heck?
Exactly. A few steps. Uh-oh. It's not
Uh-oh.
overcooked, is it?
The dog get it?
No.
The basset hound?
No, for a second. Okay, it just took a minute to calibrate. For a second, it said that it was 252, which would have been shoe leather, but no, it's only 122 and 100. So the point, the fat end is 152 degrees. The flat's 122 degrees. So yeah, I don't even wrap it until 170. So I got some time. I got to get through the stall. So yeah, I got some time. That's going to be beautiful. But yeah, it scared me for a second because it was in the 200s. I was like, what? I'm gonna have to bury another brisket in the backyard. That happened. Let's see. I drove overnight and eat in the morning. Then I go to sleep, still losing weight. That's awesome. Drive overnight. But yeah, this I definitely recommend trying that. Those burgers. Those burgers are tasty. Super tasty. And you can smoke them low, 225 to even 200 for a long time because they won't dry out on you because they have so much bacon in them that the bacon fat keeps rendering and it keeps them very, very moist. So you can get a lot of smoke in those suckers. I mean, look how red these guys are. I mean, these guys are super red. See how red those are with smoke?
Yeah.
Guys, man, they got a
You just want to touch it so you can lick your fingers, eh?
little piece fell off.
Yeah.
But so you can get a really good smoke on those things. Man.
Yeah. I made them and they're just so handy to have in the fridge cold for a quick meal. If I'm leaving, going to my daughter's or whatever, just grab one and munch on that in the car and it keeps me going.
right?
Yeah, love it.
They're so good. I can't believe how easy it is to cook brisket now. Low and slow at 205 until 165, then wrap it. Yep, wrap it. Take it up here in Texas, take it up to 203. You're golden all day. Exactly. Yep. It's a thing of beauty for sure. And man, they're so good. You can't screw them up hardly. Well, you can if you don't know the conversion for your elevation. After you get that figured out, it's really easy. You got to do that.
And I keep it simple. I just put it on the smoke setting. I don't use the temperature at all. And I just stick the thermometer in there. And when it gets to, I think, it gets to 60, was it 60 degrees?
I think yours was
160. 160, was it?
No, I think it's
forgot
60.
now. Yeah, 60.
64, I think, what yours was, if I had to remember.
Well, our brochure says 57 for rare. And I like mine rare. So at 57, we take it out. And then I just cover it with foil on the bench, leave it for an hour, half an hour, and then we.
Is that brisket or is that a roast though?
Everything.
You can't do everything. You can't do everything.
Well, that's what I do, and I know you're going to teach me when you come to Australia. You can give my hubby and I a quick lesson. But we do everything. As soon as it gets to 57, we take it off because I don't know any other way. And it's working. We're enjoying the meat.
Yeah, and that's not bad. That's good for your Scotch fillets and your rib roast. That's good. Rare's where you want them. That's like our 123 probably, which is where I cook like our
57 to 134.6.
Oh yeah, that's even a little overcooked for my liking for a roast. But when you do tough pieces of meat like tri-tip, brisket, chuck roast, those you have to cook low and slow, and you have to cook them to a higher temperature to get the tissue to break down. And that's why at sea level, a brisket is cooked to 203 at sea level, 202 to 203 degrees. What is that in Celsius, Michael?
What did you say, 203?
Yeah.
It is 95 Celsius.
Yeah, so 95 degrees Celsius is where you want a brisket to cook to if you're at sea level, you know.
I've only done the Scotch roast, which I think is your prime rib, is it?
It's the New York strip loin is what it is.
Okay, so that's all I've done. And yesterday we did a lamb roast, and we did the same thing on it when it got to 57.
Those would both be, those would be perfect.
But if I buy a brisket, I'd normally do it in the slow cooker because I know it's a little bit more involved.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Hey, Sherry. Very excited to see you, Adrian. I remember seeing you on The Biggest Loser. What a scam that show turned out to be. I bought The Biggest Loser book. So happy for you. That's awesome. Yeah. So you guys got any big plans coming up this week?
No, I think I've got a pretty quiet week. I wish I had something exciting. I actually bought myself an Apple Watch. So wanting to start tracking my steps.
Nice. That'd be fun to see.
Yeah, I just think if I have no idea how many steps I'm doing, it's probably really embarrassingly little. So I want to just try and track that and increase that. You've got one, have you?
I have one of these, and it tells me that I need to breathe and move. Now, I haven't put it on in a while, but it is pretty funny because it's hooked to my phone, and so it's like, you should go for a walk. I'm like, you should shut up. You're sitting on my desk. Don't tell me what to do.
No, I just want to increase my movement. And I think by having something tell me that what my steps are, my count, and then I've got something to work on. Otherwise, I just have no idea.
Yeah.
So, it just gives me another play toy.
Well, no, and it is something. I was just curious. I'm like, I don't know how many. But what it's really good for is what I really like it for is the stopwatch for doing sprints. And then for the steps on the treadmill, when I'm doing those two things in distance on the treadmill, I do like it for that quite a bit. So they are super handy. But but I was just, when he said that, I was laughing because I take it off and I put it here on the desk and it starts yelling at me. It's like, you need to move. I'm like, you need to shut up. You mind your
Well,
own
it's a
dang
way for it
business.
to, because I get really stuck on the computer. I'm working away, and then it's like, oh, I'll get up in half an hour, but then I get distracted, and it's the next half hour, and then by the end of the day, I'm like, I haven't got up and done anything, as I've just been focused on work. So if I've got something screaming at me, then it will make me stand up, do 10 minutes of whatever, and then I can continue working. Yep, monitoring my steps this month and doing the stretches. Yeah, are you doing the Yes to Next program with Lynn and I? I think I saw you in our chat yesterday. But yeah, and that's just I just want to keep a bit more of a track on things there, because I've got the diet down pat, but now I'm trying to work on my fitness levels.
Yeah, you know what I was just thinking? I think we might have to shut this down because I think Adrian's channel's still running, and I don't know if she's going to be able to get on with Chafee if her channel's hooked to our stream.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I just got to thinking that. So, all right, we're going to go for 2 hours and 45 minutes tonight because I don't think Adrian knows that her channel is still hooked to this stream. So this is still going out on her channel. So
Yeah.
I don't want to cause her problems with Chafee. So we'll cut it down. I just looked up in the corner and saw that. I was like, oh, she might not understand how this works. So, well, that's good. Let's see. Is it our 1 year 700 plus anniversary next week?
I think it was the week after. I do have it written down here. Yeah, the week after, 30th September.
Okay, so we're just having a regular show, and then the following Sunday we got to do something special. I don't know what we're doing yet. We're gonna come up with something fantastic because it's gonna be our 1 year episode. So that'd be kind of fun.
I can't believe it. Wow, it's gone quickly.
I know you guys have listened to us pontificate for a year now. You poor son of a guns.
You got for punishment. Keep coming back for more.
Oh, B-Dog's starting some trouble here in the chat. That's what's going down.
Oh.
Texans will win.
Oh. Well, that'll be fun. Any ideas? You guys should put in the chat. I'm not wearing tights. I'm just putting that out there right now. I'm not wearing tights or tutus. So get that out of your dang thoughts. But you should put in the chat what you think we should do if you have any ideas for a 1 year episode. What you'd like to see.
You could dress up like a little Cupid with your wings on your back.
I'm not doing any of that.
Michael's shadow.
There will be no dressing up involved. And I'm not nothing that involves glitter either. I'm done with glitter. We're not doing that anymore. That was
fine. Glitter.
That was terrible idea. But yeah, let us know what you want. We could do a smoker party or something. We could smoke food.
Oh, and if the weather's nice, I'll definitely go out with my laptop and sit on the deck. That sounds nice.
You son of a bitch.
I love that.
You guys know how much I hate AI. Any idea?
We need to change up our intro, Michael. I know that.
Surprise guest. Okay. All right. I like that idea. Should we just have a bunch of surprise guests come on?
Yeah, we should extend an invitation.
All right. We'll do that. We'll have
talk about it.
You guys will never see it coming either.
Got some ideas. We'll fling them around after this.
Yeah, smoker party. All right, we're in. We're gonna brainstorm it. We're gonna come up with something awesome. I don't know, something. We're gonna come up with something awesome. Oh, we got 25 seconds. We will see you guys next week.
All right. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Have
guys.
a good week.
Appreciate it.